Hey guys, what's going on? Swishcast here. We are back again to Team Fortress 2's only podcast ever.
Welcome everybody to Swishcast, TF2's only good podcast. We are joined today by very special guests, but before then, let's introduce who you're really here for. My name is Indy. To the right of me is PartyPuck TV. Say hi. And to the and to the right of him is him. Yeah.
Come on, here, laddies. My name's Jacksepticeye.
Everyone's favorite fumbler. All right. So.
Today we have some very, very special guests. Why don't you introduce yourselves for the stream?
I'm New Greenshoot. I'm the community manager for TFTC. I handle the internal playtests, I handle PR and things like that, and I'm happy to be here.
And he's a good friend.
I'm friends with all of you. I'm already best friends.
Yes.
And we also have...
I'm I'm an acquaintance. Well, we're working a friend. We'll get through this podcast. I'm Wah. I'm the art lead. I make things look pretty. In terms of actual development, I do a little bit of concept art, a lot of art passing. But generally speaking, I'm the art lead on the project.
Cool. Very nice.
Awesome.
Awesome. And well, you do a good job, my friend. Game looks lovely, but we'll get into that later. So, Indy, do you have something you want to tell the audience?
Hi. What are you talking about?
You've been the one doing the big research recently, so I thought you'd be the one to start us off.
The big research.
Yeah.
Well, basically, what he's trying to say is today we have the two lead developers of the hit game TF2 Classic in with us today to talk about many such topics, such as, and then this is where Indy comes in with the topic.
We're going to talk about the past of Team Fortress 2 Classic, the beginnings. We are going to talk about the present. We are going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about everything and anything, and maybe even the 11th class will be revealed.
Fuck!
I mean, who knows?
Stop doing your YouTuber voice.
Hey guys, Allier here. All right, okay, so
I just hit a clip.
It's good for the algorithm. It's good for engagement.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do this, cops.
So why don't we start off by Team
What?
Fortress 2 Classic developers here explaining to us and everyone else in their words what Team Fortress 2 Classic is.
Do you want to take this one, Wall, or should I?
You want to go for it?
Yeah, sure.
Very polite.
So I think I'm just trying to be a good person here. Like, this is like the first impression, you know? TF2 Classic has been around for, I think, longer than any other source mod. It kind of started with us, and so we've kind of become the flag bearer for source mods in a way. But I think that the way that we would exactly define the game and what we're trying to be has also changed over time. Back in 2015 or so, there were very specific goals for it, and I think they're ones that people generally wouldn't agree with now. Things like removing like Pyro Air Blast and building hauling and things like that, trying to be like an authentically classic experience. And I think that we still do aim for that in a lot of ways, but I think that it has shifted mainly to trying to have the feel of old TF2 with, you know, this kind of close adherence to art style and trying to make sure that the gameplay sticks closely to the original, you know, roles of classes and things like that. We want it to be like you're in 2010 again, waiting for new content to come out, and I guess just to feel like you're playing a game that like has people working on it that genuinely care about it and love it and want it to be the best it can be.
Awesome. Would you say?
Yeah, I definitely agree that you nailed down the vibe of old TF2.
Would you guys say this is TF2 but back in time? Sam, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we've had people start playing TF2C that weren't there back in the old days. They started playing after Jungle Inferno, but they still say that, like, this is the first time they've ever experienced having content updates for the game.
That's so
which is
crazy.
just insane.
That is unironically me, because I started playing I literally, just as Jungle Inferno came out, I started playing. I haven't experienced a proper update. So when all these source mods and all get updates, it's very weird. It's like I've never experienced this before for the actual game.
Yeah, it was really weird to think about because I started sort of developing for the mod around the time a long time before 2.1 came out, but after 2.0 came out, which is Death and Taxes. So I kind of
2020.
yeah, exactly. So I think I was about 2022 or so. Um, and it was weird for me to see people talking about when we released 2.1, which was our fighter flight update, that yeah, like people hadn't experienced this before. I don't think it really like clicked for me that we could provide that experience until I saw that happening in the wild. So it's really weird to think about.
Definitely, as someone who's a sucker for old TF2, it's like half my personality at this point. Team Fortress 2 Classic is definitely like just hits the nail on the head. It feels like I started watching TF2 videos around 2009, but I didn't start playing the game until 2013. So like that sort of 2009-ish era of TF2 always stayed like so elusive to me because I only saw it through videos. But then, when I picked up this mod, it just felt like I was right there, and it's you guys really nailed down that feeling, and we'll discuss it more later. But the major update, the fight or flight one, that was like such a huge wave of like nostalgia. I'm sure you agree, Party. You were there with me when that update dropped, and the hype was just real.
There was hype. I won't lie. I did make me feel like I was 14 again, which was very sweet.
That's awesome.
One thing about TF2 Classic, the first thing I noticed when I played it, well, it kind of feels like a mix of like, obviously it feels like old TF2, so it's a flash from the past, but it also feels new in a lot of ways because the game just looks so much fucking better than TF2, and like the way it like runs better as well. Like, I don't know why, like my PC is like, it's good, it's like fair enough, like I can edit videos, I can render in SFM, and I can run most games. I can run GTA 5 and run Fortnite, all the greatest and latest, at like a good frame rate. But for TF2, if there's like 20 boys in a lobby, my game goes to like 40 FPS, which like, isn't bad for some people. I've got one of those like dumbass monitors, which has like a million frames a second. So I was like, it does quite become a little bit noticeable. But in TF2 Classic, that problem just goes away. So I don't know. Maybe it's because you removed all the hats and like unusuals, but that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. Not to get too technical, but for live TF2, it's just trying to cram so much stuff into an engine from 2007 that it can't really sustain.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're doing much better. We're on the same engine as TF2, obviously, but we only have the stuff that was able to run in 2007, and so that makes a big difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of one of the other things we sort of try to do is sort of avoid the thing that Valve was notorious for, which is sort of continuously piling new things on and sort of abandoning old things. I know that happened a lot with TF2, so that's just one of those things that we try to sort of keep in mind, and I think that kind of helps a lot with stuff like that.
Sorry to interrupt the flow of conversation, but I've been getting a bunch of messages from people and in the chat as well saying that I'm too loud. I've turned down my mic,
Wait,
so
just leave it how it is. I'll do all the volume. I noticed that. Don't worry.
all right.
I've been referring to the chat. Musex can't hear you over his Queen vinyl, so it's kind of a problem.
Turn off your vinyl, bro. This is
Okay,
this is live, by the way. Hello, Remix Revolution. We can see you. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my volume like how it is now.
Keep it now, and if it gets too loud, I can turn it down. Just let us know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, basically this game, this is probably my favorite version of TF2 right now. I'm gonna be completely honest.
But even better than typical colors.
Oh, it's a tough one.
Yeah. After 2.1 came out, we were watching streamers just scroll through the update page that we made and just having this like blast from the past of nostalgia, being able to see not just like the new content, but also all of the stuff that we do around it, all the writing on the update page, all the renders. I think that it really, for some people, does feel like a full replacement of TF2, a different version that you can play.
Well, like every single time that we like play TF2 Classic, Indy's always going on about, he's like, I prefer this more than TF2. This is my TF2 now. Like fucking
It is.
He's burning his allegiance to the the main TF2. Which, to be fair, I don't blame him because I I haven't touched actual TF2 in months because it's just I can't. I actually can't. I don't know if it's just horrible bad luck, but every server is just fucking flooded with bots and all that. So at least
you guys fixed the bot problem.
It provides that necessary service anyway.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the interesting things about the project is sort of the variety of people that we attract and for different reasons. You know, there's people who want to relive their own glory days in sort of classic era TF2. There's people who never experienced it before and kind of want it as like a time capsule in a way. There's some people who just want totally new TF2 content. And then, yeah, there's some people who unfortunately, for one reason or another, just kind of don't really, you know, aren't able to play Valve's TF2. So it's nice to be able to attract these different audiences, and it's kind of cool to see everybody come together.
One also thing I want to quickly mention before, because we are just kind of like rambling about things we like about the game right now. But one thing I also want to mention that I like is that the thing is like TF2 2007 and TF2 like now they feel like completely different games in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's a team shooter, which is, yeah, you know, cool. But obviously, but TF2, but, you know, back in the day and back now, it's literally just like a whole new game. And it does, and in a lot of ways, there's a lot less variety. But what you've done is you've, like, enhanced the core gameplay so much that it becomes, like, I don't know, it just becomes, like, a fun, I feel like I have more, like, fun team interactions in this game. It might be because that I've noticed everyone is so vocal in this game. Like everyone no one is shy to go on voice chat or like in text chat and like communicate. Unlike in TF2, where if you're like, "Hey guys, can you push?" Like, "Oh fuck you, please shut up."
Either that or just a vote kit gets called on you instantly.
Yeah. So it might be a mix of the community, but it might just be like the fact that you've just like, you know, took what TF2 is at its core and just like hammered it into something better.
I don't know what that sound was.
This might be a bit too much glazing, but whenever I play regular TF2 these days, I'm just like, man, I wish I was playing TF2 Classic instead.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it extends beyond the game itself. I think the biggest like draw for people is the community aspect of it, where you have servers where you see the same regulars every single day, and there are people that are talking and active, and you make friends with them. And I think that it kind of feels like you're a part of something more so than just being auto-selected into a silent casual lobby.
That's true. As this analogy we always talk about in Swishcast, where it's we talk about that. It usually comes in when everyone's like, "Oh, should TF2 be a hyper competitive game or like a wacky crazy shooter?" We always say that like TF2 at its best is like a chat room with guns. It's like you kind of come for the gameplay, but you stay for the people you meet, because it's got like I've met some of the you know, best buddies from playing TF2, like these two.
Party and I met on 2-4.
Exactly. See, so it's like. And like I feel like TF2 Classic in a lot of ways does like enhance that like a lot, because it's got like you bump into the same people. No one's afraid to chat.
Especially with regulars. Every time I'm on TF2 Classic, there's this guy with like a Rabbids profile picture, and every time I kill him and I start rubbing it in, he like starts yelling at me. So
yeah, these are the interactions. Like it's just a big Skype call to some people, and that's okay. It's fun to be able to go back to the days of just shit talk and banter a little bit. You don't get that anymore with even modern TF2 community servers, I think, where you feel very abstracted from the people that you're playing with.
Yeah, that is true. Community servers have just been like flopping recently.
Even with like community servers like Skyle, they have that thing where they like, if you don't move for more than a second, they get like a bot to take over your body. So like half the time you don't even know like if you're fighting real people or not.
So yeah, we're very happy to have, you know, these official servers that we can host that are community supported by donations and that don't really have any, I guess, like big mods or plugins that detract from the experience. It's very easy to join them and just feel like you're playing a regular vanilla TF2 server.
Just have a good time.
And obviously we have like our own third-party servers with custom weapons and things like that, but we focus really hard on having just a good vanilla experience past that.
Zane Custom Weapons.
He's
making a fortune off those custom weapons, that boy.
Yeah, that's a different game at this point, but you know.
He should really be giving you a cut.
He's raking it in on those. Soldier has M16 mods.
So that is interesting as a topic, though, because I think that TFGC for a lot of people is something of a modding base at this point, more so than a game in of itself. And I think that a lot of people have kind of mixed feelings about that, which is understandable. But there is still a lot of crossover attention from the amount of people that make content about custom weapons and things like that. And we do hope that at least a few people that check out the game for custom weapons might still come back and just try the vanilla experience that we've been trying to work on and hone for so many years.
I'm gonna admit I've not played on these custom weapon servers yet. I did one time. There was like all the official servers were empty, so the only players were in the custom ones. So I joined and I waited and I waited and I waited, and it would just never download. It was like 10 minutes. It just didn't like download anything. So I just gave up. Did you play?
I did. It was a good experience.
It's different tastes for different people. We're obviously trying to spec the vanilla game for the sort of person that kind of wants that like 2008 enhanced sort of feel to it.
So while we're on the topic of that, could you guys go over the brief history of this game with us? Because from what I know, it launched New Year's Eve of 2014. Then it was dormant for a while, and then you guys came in full swing in 2020. So how did all that happen?
Yeah, so I can't profess to know the detailed history of it because I came in late myself. I've got the mercenary badge. But the abridged history anyways, the stuff that like you can look up anyways, is that it kind of started on the Face Punch forums in 2014 or so. And it originally was meant to be, a very by the book Team Fortress 2007 kind of thing. And then that scope began to expand with ideas like 4-team and deathmatch and things like that. And so it kind of just grew out from there. And then people joined the team, people left the team, and went through many development iterations. And there were obviously also lots of internal disputes over what direction the game should exactly be taken in at that point. What should VIP look like? Should deathmatch even remain in the game? And obviously, those people ended up splitting off in the project just over those disagreements. And so I think that for a lot of the current development team, 2.0 in 2020 really was the first like real release of the game as far as what our like current shared vision for it is. And then since then, we are still trying to limit the scope of content to make sure that it still feels like classic and maybe not sparse, but at least like digestible and comprehensible. That's still important to us. But yeah, I think that we're more unified than we've been before, and we're excited for the future of the game. And we're kind of glad to be past a lot of the kind of mid 2010s drama that I think sort of defined the game to some people, as well as the long development hiatuses that didn't really have any content to show off in the meantime. We're happy to do interviews, we're happy to do teasers. We want people to know that the game is always living and active and things are in progress.
I think it's quite interesting to try and the balance of trying to like keep the game with the 2007 feel while like knowing like what to keep from that era and what to remove. Like air blast and stuff. Like, do we want the pyro brainless experience, or is that too rubbish and we should just put it in, or like engineer being able to pick up his buildings, like you said? And there's like
we're always listening to our fans. There are certain things that I think people consider to be good changes that we're still willing to implement. I think we're kind of past the point of trying to mimic old TF2 or beta content just for the sake of it. And we kind of more want to just make a game that's good in its own right, that someone can join or someone that can install and start playing with no knowledge of TF2 or its history and still just enjoy on the face of it. And so, we're adding new content because people want new content to be added. We're adding new maps, new weapons, things like that. But we're always trying to keep an ear out and just hear, what do people want from the game? What would keep you playing in the long term?
Yeah, I think also a lot of that is kind of down to trying to recreate the feel rather than the facts of it. Things like, I would say one of the big defining things of old school TF2 is that excitement for new content and never really knowing what it was going to be. So if you want to recreate that feel, you kind of need new content. So it kind of feeds into itself in a nice way there.
Yeah, and all the stuff.
I imagine it's a tough balancing act between like adding new things and still keeping the game as like an
simpler version of Team Fortress 2. So do you have like any unwritten rules or like a TF2C like Bible that's like kept under wraps, like do's and don'ts that you keep among the development team or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I would say, is the abridged. I could kind of go a little bit into that. I sort of, I can at least speak from since I joined the team. We've been sort of, I would say, trying to get a little bit more loose but definitive guidelines on sort of what makes things feel like the classic era of TF2. So there's been a fair bit of back and forth on things like maps. Obviously as like an art related person, I'm pretty concerned with like, how should a map look? What, where should it be set? What should the, goals of it be like? So there's a lot of back and forth there, I would say. I would say a lot of it is trying to balance new and interesting content with like keeping that classic feel and flavor. So it's something that we're always probably going a little back and forth on, and just because it's a very relative idea, everybody kind of has a little bit of their own picture in their mind of what makes something feel classic. So yeah, the sort of it is we're trying to sort of get some guidelines down that are understandable, but also flexible enough for people to do new and exciting things.
So are cosmetics a complete no-go?
Cosmetics are a complete no-go. There are well, with that said, we do use obviously different visual changes to classes to denote certain weapons. That's something that we're kind of able to do because we don't have hats and user chosen cosmetics. So we do try to sort of take advantage of that in an interesting way. But we do have a couple sort of more firm rules like that, just for the sake of making things easier and saying like what we will and won't do.
I think if you added cosmetics, you'd just be like blurring the line between like what is classic TF2 and what is modern TF2. So I think keeping them out is like kind of like an essential thing. But I think if you were to add like if you like had to add it, like maybe you could add like badges. That's like the only thing I would imagine would kind of work. But like I don't know. I feel like cosmetics would just kind of like take away from that experience in a lot of way.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think the lack of cosmetics offers us like certain gameplay opportunities because you're much more aware of the differences in class appearance if you don't have cosmetics that muddy it in the first place. And so, like you mentioned, we have cosmetics for different weapons that you can equip to help telegraph that in a way that I think live TF2 is a bit more limited on because it just kind of all gets blurred together at a certain point. And we have like, obviously holiday cosmetics like Santa hats, birthday hats that might smooth it over a little bit for people that need something on their head.
You need something. They're fucking addicted. I must have a hound.
One interesting thing. Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, I have seen someone. One of my friends actually. He said he doesn't want to try TF2 Classic because he's so attached to his like pyro cosmetic set that he just can't imagine playing without it. I was like, well, good for you, I guess.
I've heard that a couple times before. It's definitely a sentiment I've seen before. But I mean, one kind of interesting thing is I would say it's kind of a buff to spies because you're able to blend into people much more easily.
That is so true. Spy feels like Spy has been buffed in this game because fucking Spy is reaching that point where like in normal TF2 where everyone has become so aware of Spy that he is just like becoming like unless you're like trick stab god, it's like it becomes so hard to just like try and blend in normally. You have to start like acting really like you have to like really get into character now. So that does help a lot. Spy definitely needs the buff. Poor boy.
Spy, definitely. I
Speaking
love.
of
I
spies,
love.
we talk about the green spy.
I love the green spy.
Green spy.
The green spy has become a little bit of an inside joke amongst us because of that one. Let me try and find a picture of it. That one render you guys made for the fight or flight update with like the green spy like laughing. Let me find it. Oh, here it is.
So I put it on screen.
Yeah, put it on screen. I'm gonna send it in.
Should I go in the TV mode or should I just like put it on screen?
Just put it on screen.
Okay.
It's fine. Well, I remember when we first saw this, party started bursted out laughing, looking at green spy.
I don't know why. It's just that I guess the idea of a green spy just like brings me joy. I don't know.
Just intrinsically funny.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Green spy.
There he is, the green machine. I'll keep him here.
Oh yeah, it just appeared on my stream. That's so good.
Beautiful.
Sam, you're a green spy main, aren't you?
Yeah, man. I'm like,
You,
what do you want me to add to this bit? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've genuinely never heard you mention Green Spy before.
Because you're
you're
never
on, Samuel.
I am. I'm on now.
If Adele was here, she would know.
Should have gotten our other host on.
Should have. Sam, you need to weigh in. All right, didn't you do a video on the nail gun?
I did actually. Yes, I did do a video on the nail gun. Okay, I liked it. It was a good weapon.
Is that your video?
You're not giving me much to work with here.
Are you sure you're a podcast host? Like,
no, you're just sticking me over this
Just
one. You're not giving me much.
I will come back to weapons later then, Sam.
You're swooping in and asking the questions I want to ask.
All right, no, go on then. Go on.
Go on.
Oh, I can't think of one because they're not talking right now.
Womp womp. All right, moving on.
We are a professional podcast.
Okay, indeed.
So you mentioned adding cut content and basically saying that you're straying away from that. So how much cut content would you say you haven't added, like in comparison to how much you have added? Because I know that at first the game was like, I try and add as much cut content as possible, but now it seems that you guys are more focused on brand new stuff.
You got to leave some of the content for pre-Fortress. They need some of it as well. Anyway,
it's complicated because I mean, so even a lot of the cut content that we do have has been iterated on to such an extent that it probably doesn't resemble what it was like in the actual TF2 beta. In that case, things like the nail gun and dynamite, I think, become more like these sorts of abstract designs that we kind of use as inspiration to make weapons with, more so than like things that we're trying to have like accurate carbon copies of. Past that, even like recent weapons, I think have had more beta callbacks, or at least cut content callbacks, than I think meets the eye. Things like the Harvester, for instance, are taken from the Pyro Scythe that you could see in a few Valve videos that ultimately didn't make the cut. And so that was something where we took this idea of a scythe for Pyro and just internally tried to make something interesting out of that, obviously without the knowledge of what it was going to be in Valve's eyes at first. And there's still plenty of things that Valve cut that I think we've talked about adding, but they're kind of too big in scope for us to really do at this time. Things like the raid game mode and things like that. Very fun ideas, things that we could do a lot with, but we're just kind of, thinking about like, what can we do with the manpower that we have at any given time?
Have you ever had a moment where go ahead, Sam? Final.
Yeah, there we go. Users said, like, obviously a lot of the cut content, it comes from TF2's like start of development or stuff like that, but there were weapons that never made it in. There was that one Pyro, like there was ones that were meant to be added later on, like during Jungle Inferno and stuff like that, and they never were. Do you say those? I can't think of one off my, like, I know what they look like, I can't think of them off my head. There's like a Pyro's flamethrower that got scrapped. There was a soldier fly swatter, stuff like that. Things like that, are they kind of like out of the question for you, or do you like do you feel like any cut content is kind of fair game?
I don't think I'd say anything's out of the question per se. It's all fair game insofar as they are like Valve designs that have something especially interesting or evocative about them. I think that there are some things that we probably wouldn't choose to do for art style concerns that Valve would have been more amenable to at certain points in the game's lifespan. Like I don't know if we would design like a soldier fly swatter, for instance, because that seems sort of difficult to justify, I think, with the art direction that we've set for the game. But
Yeah.
I think Wa could speak more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting case where I would also say, like, we probably don't want to specifically try to shoehorn cut things in just for the sake of it as well. It's kind of a tricky balance where I would say ideally a lot of our sort of cut content inspired inclusions are there for like a purpose, like to fulfill a gap in a class that we've noticed, or to try and smooth over some sort of gameplay interaction. Sometimes we include things just because they're interesting and we have fun with them. But I think there's that kind of balance of adding things with purpose and trying to be kind of strategic about what gets in and what doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, was there ever a moment where you were looking at a piece of cut content and you're like, "Yep, that was cut for a reason. We are not touching that."
I would say
that's a
they're
good
definitely,
question.
yeah, go for it if you can think of any specific
Oh,
examples.
do you have any ideas?
I was gonna say I know that we've had moments like that before. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything I could discuss.
Yeah, what I can think of is more so things that we already have that I think have been kind of thorns in the side balancing wise. Like you kind of relearn maybe why Valve cut them, and you're given the task of trying to figure out, well, okay, how do we make this work in our game then? How do we revise this to the point that players are happy with it? With the nail gun, for instance, a lot of people do really enjoy the nail gun, but I think that statistically it still underperforms the scatter gun, but people still feel like they're roughly on par power-wise just because it's a little bit more annoying to die to. So we've had to offset that just by making it worse in most situations, which is a little bit frustrating from a balance perspective, obviously. But it's just kind of the way that you have to operate whenever you want to try to make beta content work in this environment.
I'm trying to think of beta TF2 content, but I don't really know much about the TF2 beta except there's like pictures of like white.
Artie, speak into your mic.
Hello. Right, it's louder.
You were going.
Like you're fading away from reality.
Sorry.
like
It's because I was leaning back in my chair. I said I don't
straight up faded on the podcast.
I am straight up blazing that drank right now. Anyway, so
fuck off.
Right. So I don't really know much TF2 beta content except like it's the demo like being white. So I don't really know if I can add much to this. But I do want to know if I originally thought this was the influence of the harvester weapon.
So I do want to note this.
Put that on the screen from Balloons TD6. We have the harvester monkey. I was like, that's the same thing. That's the same
That's
size.
the cross promotion right there.
Cross promotion, yeah.
I need to like look this up right now. I don't know if the harvester monkey, I'll be honest.
No, he's legendary. He picks up the nanas for you. He's maddening. So I was like, oh,
he does have a scythe, yeah. I think
yeah, so I thought that's what
our little farmer hat as a tie-in.
Oh, madness!
Well, now that I'm looking at it, it feels like something Valve. You know how Valve used to do those like tie-in items for like other games coming on Steam?
Yeah, exactly.
They would do the scythe and like the hat.
Yeah. I mean, like Pyro has to keep the sun out of his eyes too, so I think there's some practical concerns there.
That is true.
No, but aren't those gas mask glasses tinted?
I think you might get some glare, to be honest.
Maybe
but I'm not sure exactly. I'll consult.
Maybe you can be the first source mod to answer Matt Pat's theory on Pyro's true gender.
Oh
my goodness. This is a touchy subject here.
Yeah, as a touchy one.
Yeah.
We said we wouldn't get into political discussions, party.
Sorry.
Well,
I'll say the dev team has a lot of thoughts on this that we're not going to share.
Well, okay. All right, cool.
Moving on.
Well, MatPat did say that it's either a female or a gay male.
That video has not aged.
That
video has not aged well at all. I'm sorry.
You never touched the game again.
He's wearing right. He's wearing gloves. Okay, very disproved. All right, moving on.
You know, we got the calipers. We've done internal measurements.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just keeping the information.
We've got
digging the TF2 beta.
We have the source. We have the source code, guys. The fingers have been measured.
Fingers have been measured.
We know what's behind the mask. Okay. Oh, there was something I was going to ask, but I've forgotten. I've completely forgotten now. Womp womp.
And that, yeah, same. You start.
I have a lot to say about the weapons. Oh, one thing I want to. Okay, because you were talking about like what cut content you want to add. Is there any other like TF2 weapons that are already in the game that you would like? You think might work in in the game, or do you think you've just
like shipped retail weapons, not cut content?
Yeah, like weapons that are already in the game that you think could maybe work for what you're going for, or do you think you've basically just hit it all?
Well, I mean, there's obviously, I think, niches that we could still fill. We've kind of like elected to not directly add any more weapons from live TF2, and that's for many reasons. But we often will still end up designing weapons that fill similar gaps in a class, as to what live weapons try to do sometimes. And so people obviously can draw analogies in certain respects. Like we both gave Pyro like a mobility tool, for instance, but the specifics of how it works are still very different between the different games. I think we're constantly trying to figure out like how do we like fill this gap in a way that's maybe like a bit more interesting than the way live did.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things that we have, where it's sort of an advantage of just hindsight and being able to see what worked for Valve, what didn't. It's interesting to try and solve those problems in different ways, and then it's also interesting just to see like what weapons maybe didn't get a lot of use, or what weapons had more potential than maybe people feel like was realized. So we're kind of in a very interesting perspective, being able to do that.
Yeah, it would be more interesting if they were like given like a unique something unique to distinguish them from TF2. But like, I guess some weapons that come to mind that I think could maybe work would be like just like ones that are like really simple, just like maybe like a reworked Mad Milk, reworked Jiraiya.
I remember we talked about at party that the Market Gardener would work really well.
The thing is, right, the Market Gardener, the Market Gardener is like my favorite weapon. I'm not like a Soundsmith like Troll Germain or anything, but it's just like one of the most satisfying things to hit. So it's a little bit sad when I can't hit Market Gardeners in games.
Do you want to pivot maybe into 2.2 content?
You might enjoy 2.2.
Yeah, I mean, because we've already revealed a weapon publicly that I think does try to fill a very similar role to the Market Gardener, but in a way that kind of matches what I talked about, where we think it'll be more fun, both to play with and to fight against than the Market Gardener tends to be.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. I haven't actually seen that yet, so.
Is there more? I mean, is there more you can share on this Market Gardener?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before, and if you look closely even, I think you'll see it pop up occasionally in the footage in the bottom left of the stream. But it's designed after a sort of heavy anchor type thing that you can use to convert your fall damage into this sort of AoE earthquake whenever you hit the ground. And so you can use this to jump and crash onto a point and knock everyone off of it and do a bunch of damage and then finish them off after you land. And so the playtester responses to it have been really, really good so far. It's been in development for a very long time through different shapes and forms and things like that. And it's been the one that I think we're the most proud of.
That does sound pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Sounds a lot more fun than the Market Gardener.
No, the Market Gardener is fun. I guess it's not fun to be killed by, but it is fun to use. So I guess it's just about trying to balance.
Yeah. I think that's one of the really fun things about doing our internal beta tests that we do, is just like imagining, what people are going to think about it when we release it, and just like one of the most effective ways I think we found of like if a weapon is going to be fun or not is just how much fun we have with it, and like how crazy the voice chat gets when we're playing with it.
That is a good way.
It's a good time.
The thing is, right, you can't measure hype. It's just something that has to be bared and witnessed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Indy, what do you think? Come on, what's happening?
I like every single weapon that you guys have come up with, except the mine layer. That's sorry to be a negative Nancy for a second.
It happens.
That is the most boring weapon I've probably ever used.
I don't know. I've actually used it yet. You know, to be harsh, Indy.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm trying to counteract all this glazing I'm doing by saying that I prefer it over regular TF2, which is true. Which makes
you're fine. You need to find a middle ground, okay? You're fucking.
You're either glazing or like burning. Like, come on.
I think it's an admirable trait. Okay. I don't know. I think like 99% of everything in TF2 Classic is just great. And I wanted to ask while we're talking about new weapons, how do you what's the process that you go through from making a brand new weapon from scratch? Let's say You want to make a hypothetical like medic or sniper weapon or something. Like, how does that happen? Like, generally.
Well, I can only speak to the gameplay side of it. I might let the second half of this fall to wall. But we go through tons and tons of gameplay iterations for weapons. There are so many weapons that, end up on the cutting room floor just because they don't play test well or we can't figure out how to solve some basic issues with them. I think that we have probably there's lists of 30 or 40 that we've gone through at times. And so a lot of it is just trying things that sound like cool ideas and seeing what people respond well to and how it impacts the game. It's really difficult to uh, come up with an idea and have it work the first time. So and we often come back to older ideas after we've given them time to sit for a while, and we can try different iterations on them as well. A lot of the weapons that are coming out in this update are ideas that I think have been around since 2020 or 2021, just these ancient concepts that were tested and then shelved, and then we had an idea for how to bring them back and fix them up and make them more interesting again. And then we did that, and people responded well to it, and so we kind of saved them from the brink of destruction, and now they're items that we're incredibly proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say I could probably go over a little bit of the art side of things, like you kind of mentioned. It's an interesting sort of topic for us because TF2 obviously got pretty wacky when it came to its weapons at a certain point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of knowing where to like draw the line between, okay, what matches with the gameplay and what matches with the art. Where's the line of like what's too silly? I think one of the things that we really try to think about, though, is just making weapons intuitive. So ideally, you can kind of just look at a weapon and know how it works to some degree. I think that's kind of also one of the patterns with the weapons we did carry over from live TF2. The Sandviz, the Huntsman, the flare gun, they're all pretty straightforward. And that's also something we try to keep in mind, that as we add more weapons, we don't make the game too hard to get into. I think we don't want there to be like too much feeling of being overwhelmed. So that's a big consideration. And I would say also just trying to make weapons distinct from each other, but still fit the class personality, fit the time period, fit the sort of wartime aesthetic. It's an interesting balance for sure. It's something we go back and forth on.
It's quite interesting. I feel like was it? So I think Sam.
You're doing that. You're doing the thing.
Sorry. Okay, Sam. I think I think now is your chance to gather your thoughts on your famous of nail gun video. I think since you are the quote unquote typical scout main, it's time to. I think it's time.
Yeah, but what do you want me to say about it?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear from you.
No, what's your take? I've said you're just inserting things into conversation.
What's your take, Sam?
What do you mean? What's my take? Like.
Sam, stop whining. Start yapping. Come on.
It's okay. Sam's off his game today. It's all right. We'll pick up the slack. I was gonna ask how you make your balancing decisions, but I guess we've already sort of touched on that. So
yeah, it's just playtesting. It's just lots and lots and lots of playtesting.
So I want us to, if it's all right with everyone else, do we have anything else to say on the weapons party?
Well, I've got one to say. I thought Sam had something to say, but clearly not.
All right, party. What do you have to
I was gonna say, weapons. One change I really appreciate. Gunboats on demo works so well. Jumping around with stickies and just like planting them everywhere is a very fun play style, and it's actually really intuitive. I don't know. I really do enjoy that. I don't get why that's just not in TF2. Like, why that just should just be.
That's honestly unusually positive feedback. We've had a lot of people complain about that. So
complain, really? I like it. Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you for the positive feedback. Yeah.
No, I fuck with that.
It's definitely a much better mobility option for demo that makes more sense than demo night. That's for sure.
No, fucking no trimping. Oh, that's one thing about your game I love. No demo night. Bless.
I have a visceral hatred for demo night.
I do not like demo night.
They try to mention it every stream because
it's kind of amazing the reoccurring feedback we get like that. There's like always a few items where people are like, "Thank you so much for not having mini sentries, the Dead Ringer, or Demo Night in this game."
Yeah, that's kind of true though. We have a safe space for all that bullshit.
and equally as many people that ask for us to add those things.
Please
So
do
you
never, please
really
never
win.
add Demo Night. And if you do add Demo Night, make it like somewhat fun.
No, that is the thing. Like, if we listen to everybody's feedback, we would just make live TF2 one for one. So you kind of have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
People like
exactly.
familiarity, and I mean it's understandable. But yeah, I think
Oh,
that
yeah.
Demo Night is a good example of where we don't really want to add things that, I guess, completely change the way a class plays. We want classes to basically keep the roles that they had in 2007 TF2.
It's definitely admirable that you guys aren't like porting things from old TF2 one by one, because like the Natasha thankfully does not exist in in this version, and also things like the KGB, the boxing gloves, they're still really fun and good in regular TF2. But then your guys' version, the Chekhov's punch, just takes like every annoying part of like the KGB and just makes it a lot more fun to use and to counter and everything. So it's that weapons wise, I'd say this game is definitely in good hands.
Yeah, I was about to glaze the nail gun as well, but I was gonna wait for Sam to do that, but he's a bit shy this episode. So,
But no,
We are never getting his take on the nail.
I
gun.
really want to hear your take on the
you
nail
are
gun.
that fucking desperate for my take
Yeah,
on the
because you're
nail
supposed to be the scout main.
I know, but if you're that the nail gun, I have to commend it because in my like I said this on the video, but it feels like an actual side grade to Scout Scattergun, which like even in main TF2 they don't manage to do that because there's a lot of the only like side grade a Scout has that I would put on par with the scattergun is like the soda popper. That's about it because it like gives you a different play style.
What about the backscatter?
Shut up. It's still like the same. You can still be as strong with the soda popper, if not stronger, if you know how to use it. But like, because like the rest of the things like Force of Nature and shit. I'm sorry, Force of Nature sucks ass, and I'm holding
Incorrect.
by that opinion.
Incorrect.
Force of Nature, shortstop, like backscatter, fucking I can't remember. There's one more, isn't there? Oh, baby faces. Yeah, like they don't hold up. But the nail gun actually, as you said earlier, like yeah, it is a bit weaker, but it's more annoying. It feels more annoying to die to it, so it's like it feels stronger.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting at with it.
Yeah, no, like I think I genuinely when I played with it, I remember feeling like it was as strong. And it actually gives Scout a bit of long range, which he was missing out on. So there, party, you happy?
I mean,
yeah,
it's personal playstyle in large part. There are some people that do use weapons like that might on paper be weaker and still excel with them because they just fit so well with the way that you want to play the game and the way that you're good at playing the game. And so we are happy to still offer alternative playstyles like that people can vibe with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of our philosophies in a way, is sort of doing the most with the least. And it's nice to see that apply to weapons. So I'm glad to hear that. That's nice feedback to hear.
Speaking of Force of Nature, giving it to Pyro is such a stroke of genius.
I need to glaze again. That weapon is so fun. You know,
okay,
I really enjoy
when I
that
first saw that, I was like, really? What? And then as soon as I like actually tried using it, I was like, oh, I get it. It's clearly not a one-to-one to the Force of Nature, but like the idea is there and it works like surprisingly well. It's I never thought that like you could make Pyro secondary that's as good as the flare gun, but there it is.
Yeah, you can get in, get out, and I think that compared to like the detonator, for instance, which is the closest live analog, it feels a lot more intuitive to use for players, for its intended purpose at least.
Yeah.
And so I think it's in a nice spot between the two other secondaries, where you can have the shotgun for reliable damage, you can have the flare gun if you want a combo, and then you have the twin barrel if you want to focus on mobility and using your flamethrower really aggressively.
No, the shotgun is like it feels like what the detonator should be, because the thing is the detonator, it's like good for movement, but when you actually try and like use it as like a weapon, it kind of like stinks. So, but like this one is like it's good for movement, and it's also a good like weapon you can switch to and to like get out of like a
point
tricky
blank
spot.
gets so much damage.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Really, that's probably my. I can't. I do also like the heavy ones. So I don't know if that's my favorite weapon of the update, but I thought that was very impressive how you did that.
Okay.
Also,
Can I? Okay, I gotta bring up the elephant in the chat. Devs, who is the beekeeper?
yeah, I've been noticing this. It's like a meme or something. I don't
Yeah.
We don't know much more than you. It has become very annoying, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just like everywhere in this chat. I don't know what it means.
Is this your version of the madcap? Like, just like it's
Maybe I was kind of hoping the chat would be like excitement and questions about the game itself instead of shitposting.
The questions will come later. Don't worry. Because we're doing Q&A at the end.
Because I'm still logged into the Team Fortress 2 Classic YouTube accounts. I'm having to keep panning over and consider like what's like the most awful thing I'm like allowed to say in this chat to people.
You can tell them off if you want. I don't mind. I'll let you off.
Yeah, if they're like
Beekeeper truthers will.
They're all telling us not to mention him. So I think we should move on from the fucking.
Okay, well, I'll just say no. The chat isn't the chat isn't that bad. Like the fucking the typical colors 2 chat, we had people going like
where is code?
Where is the code? Where is the code?
One thing I've noticed with chats that half of them are really good, and there's just one cunt who'll be like, "Where is code?" Or
yeah,
where do I activate code? Please.
Okay, well, I'll blow the whistle though. Like this has become such an issue that we have to have like a bot in the public server that alarms us every time the word B is mentioned.
This is a real thing.
This is, by the way, I just want to check. This like isn't like a dog whistle for like something bad, is it? It's just like
no, it's like a meme.
No.
It's like a meme.
It's just
it's just the TF2 community doing what they do best, beating a meme into the ground until it's fucking not even that it's dead. It's just like a red fucking mist on the ground.
His catchphrase would be "Unleash the bees."
Engineer gaming, guys. That's funny.
Can I be the official beekeeper voice actor? That's my.
No, we're not.
Give me your best incoming.
Yeah. So this is the sincere request to the community. Like, you know, you're allowed to be funny, but please actually be funny.
Yeah. No. I'm this podcast's professional hater. Okay. Engineer gaming, Dr. Sex, fucking like. Killbinds.
Mimi Sentry.
Womp womp.
Stop it and
do not add Mimi. If you add Mimi Sentry, I'm uninstalling the game. Alright, please.
I don't think that was ever going to be a plan.
Okay,
for them.
good.
But for on the Team Fortress Classic side, Beekeeper. Although I'm just learning about it now.
I'm already annoyed.
Stop.
Wait. Since we're on the topic of memes, I need to ask a question because this is a theory. I don't know if this is like confirmed or if this is like a theory or like what it is, but is the brick weapon based on the famous TF2 YouTuber Brickiest Brick, or is that just
no?
Or is that just
a lucky coincidence? But we are very happy still that he checked out the game because of it and gave his thoughts.
Okay,
Hardy, you fucking lied to me. You told me that.
But Indy told me that.
He was cross promotion.
That's what Indy told me.
That's what I thought.
There's been some misinformation going around.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where.
Now.
I don't know where I heard it from, but someone told me that it's a tie-in weapon for Brickiest Brick.
No, when I heard that, I was like, there ain't no way. There ain't no way this boy's got a fucking promote.
I think it's like the sheer comedy of hitting somebody upside the head with a brick and killing them.
It is a good weapon. It's a good weapon.
This is cut content. This was something that like Valve tested in live TF2. You can find references to a throwable brick, and so I think that we just kind of took that and thought, how can we make this, you know, a bit more interesting? And that's where it got the sort of stun type of mechanic where Scout can also use it as like a getaway weapon, just knock an enemy away and then clear the distance while they're stunned.
No, I think was
that not originally a weapon for heavy, or am I misremembering?
Honestly, it might have been. I'm honestly not super up to date on the lore of what form it took in live TF2.
Fair.
We're still gonna tell Brickiest Brick that it's based off him, right?
Yeah, you can still gas him up. I think that like we appreciate the fan, the player base.
Right, so
ignore everything we just said.
Just when off topic. When are we getting our weapon? That our
Shut
cross
up,
promotion.
Sam. Shut up. We already got a fucking.
Yeah,
You already got a neat.
ask next
You.
week, ask next week.
We start beating people. You add like
Oh,
a
do
fucking
you guys want to hear? Right, do you guys want to hear a funny
a
story?
microphone.
Do you guys want to hear a funny story? So we were talking about when we were on the typical colors devs. If you don't know, they're like the guys who made the Roblox TF2.
Yeah.
We had them on, and then they said, hey, our chat is coding a custom boss of all three of you in the game right now. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. So I said, guys, mate,
No
if you're
way.
and then they were doing it live, and I said, guys, if you're listening, if you're coding the Sam's boss, make it accurate, make him have 5 health and die in 1 hit. And then, funny enough, when you spawn in the Sam boss in the game, he has 5 health and dies in like 2 hits.
So good.
That is fantastic.
So this is a message to our community then, because we talked about this before the podcast, and so I'm calling out to all mappers. If you want to model the Swishcast podcast studio as a TF2C map, we will include it in the game. We will not
Holy
announce it anywhere. It'll just silently be kept in a folder somewhere for people to
Holy
stumble
shit.
upon.
No, just like add it into rotation, just like
For 1
silently
day.
for like not like an hour, just like silently add it into the rotation for an hour, and then just
Well, I
remove it.
guess-
If anybody mentions it, just delete the message, ban them.
I will say we've had some
coming
fun.
up.
Yeah, we've had some fun in the past with April Fool's stuff, so you never know.
Yeah, that is 2 weeks from now. We need to start planning that out because last year the April Fool's event went over very well. We had an official server that we filled up with, I think like we peaked at like 50 people on one server, and we were just going through like all sorts of crazy maps, like ones that we like cut from development and like weird experimental ones and just whatever we could dig up really. And people had a good time on that.
It does sound quite funny. Can you imagine? Civilian Fortress. You can only play as the civvy. Is that going to be a
Yeah.
game mode?
We were able to pitch it publicly as the 2.1 public playtest, and then people would join and they would just find Arena Flask, but with the mid from Watchtower pasted into the middle of it.
Yo, you should make
Which,
like
by
a...
the way, played surprisingly well.
Yeah, it was called Flask 2, and it was kind of like a a groundbreaking revelation that it was like an actual improvement.
Do you
Can
know
we
what...
get a civilian like CP orange, but like the middle tower is like a helipad that he has to go up to to escape?
I mean, hey, never say no. Never say never.
No, here's
Like
right.
I said, we're always playtesting. We're always trying things out.
This is the April Fool's update. Okay, so you load up the game and then you agree to a lobby screen where you can invite up to 4 players with a daily rotating item shop and battle pass. You can then queue into a map of over 100 players and choose up to 10 unique locations to drop from. And you can then build and collect rare items from chests and
Harvest
and
mats.
achieve harvest mats and
Yeah.
achieve a victory royale.
Yeah, we always need to maintain relevancy, so we'll put that in the notes.
Fortnite update.
I mean, after like CS:GO removed Danger Zone, there's not really a good niche filled for Source Battle Royale.
There was.
There was for a little while there was a TF2 in regular TF2 there was a battle royale game mode that I used to play a lot. It was actually really
It
well
was
done.
actually good. Like you wouldn't think it would be
It
good.
was
It was
a lot of
actually
fun.
really fun because the rounds were only like 5 minutes max. They would end really quickly. And
Like
you'd,
the maps were like built around like 20 people max, and like you would drop down quickly, like break a couple crates to get like a full loadout, and then you just like go at it while the zone closes in. It surprisingly worked.
Yeah, I mean,
And
with
that-
100-player servers now, that should be even easier for live TF2.
Yeah, Fort Fortress, new source mod.
Fortress.
Can't wait.
Sam, what do you
So,
want
yeah,
to say?
anything else?
I actually can't remember now.
Well done, Sam.
Well done.
Take your meds.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the TF2 Fortnite you were talking about, the battle royale, it was really good, and then it got fucked over.
Oh yeah, they like changed everything, and now it's like
Yeah.
something else.
They completely like jumbled up the balancing. So,
Yeah, that happens.
when so this is more so for WA. How do you keep your visual style intact when like creating like new assets and stuff like that? Is it just come to you naturally, or just like locked in to to the art style, or are there like general things that you have set for yourself when creating art assets?
Yeah, I'd say for me the first sort of first ingredient in the formula is that I'm a massive nerd and I've looked at TF2 content and scrutinized it for many years. But I would say, like, more seriously, I've created a few guides before internally for, hey, here's kind of like what we're shooting for. Here's a little bit more definitively what what we want to do. But also a lot of it is just sort of having people who can look back at old TF2 items and sort of reverse engineer how they were made a little bit, and kind of, I would say a lot of it also is sort of keeping in mind real world art principles and sort of the real world artistic inspirations that kind of inspired the game, and sort of blending those in. That's something we were kind of able to do in a fun way with the revised shading method on our characters that we rolled out in a patch, where characters sort of have more defined shadows and whatnot. It kind of like was able to sort of match the style of artists like J.C. Leyendecker that gets brought up when talking about that. So it's a mix of things. And once again, much like gameplay, it's also just a lot of iteration, going back and forth. I've considered before maybe like putting out a blog post just showing like the development of like a single weapon or a single map, and just showing all the stages of it, because they can really go through quite a bit sometimes.
Honestly, keep doing what you're doing. It's going good so far. What's your since you're a big TF2 art style aficionado, what have you been following the recent, well, I say recent, but nothing's fucking happening in this game, the recent like controversy around TF2's art style and team recognition and things like that? Like, have you looked at that and said, yeah, don't want this to happen for our game or something like that?
I mean, yeah. So personally, I definitely prefer the older feel of TF2, the more sort of cohesive look. I kind of, that's one of the things I really like about a lot of Valve games, especially I guess earlier on. It felt like even the multiplayer ones would immerse you in the world in a really cool way, and it would kind of feel like they were designed almost in the same mindset as a single player game in that way. So yeah, personally, I prefer that look, and that's definitely the look we're trying to go for the project. But with that said, live TF2, of course, it's kind of you almost can't even really look at it the same game, like we kind of said. So it has its own benefits, and I definitely get the appeal of all the customization. But that's just sort of where we're sitting for the project.
One thing was it I want to ask about the art style is so how did you design like the like character design, I guess, for the civilian? Was that like a TF2 like was that like a TF2 like leaked like thing, or was that just completely original?
Yeah. So I will say, I'll preface it with that happened before my time. So that was quite a long time ago now. But it was a really talented sort of concept artist who whipped up a bunch of different TF2 new characters for TF2, and that was actually, if I recall correctly, unrelated to TF2 Classic. And then we sort of brought the design on into it and made it official and modeled it and everything. With that said, it's definitely inspired by the TFC Civilian.
Oh yeah.
And there's some really clever things I think that it does with having the silhouette be really distinct, and also blending it into gameplay. Like the fact that he's super short allows him to hide behind teammates in a really fun way. So I would say it's one of those things where like I can't speak too much into the specifics because of that, but I'm really, really happy with how it came out.
No, I think it looks official, honestly. Like, there's no other way to say it. It genuinely looks like something Valve made, and the voice acting is also really good. The impression is he's my announcer in Open Fortress, so his like voice is like burnt into the back of my skull. So I was like, killing time. Also,
no, yeah, I was gonna shout out the voice acting's awesome, and we're actually hoping to sort of add some new lines along with new content, kind of like Valve used to do, and take advantage of that.
Speaking of the Civvy, Sam, we've got a poll going in chat for you.
74% of the chat wants you to do a civilian impression, Sam.
Well, once the poll ends, you
Only
know, we might make a
26% have respect.
we
for
might
you.
make a swift recovery. Come on, I have too much respect.
Too much.
Oh, guys, if you haven't.
Only 30% of the chat
there's
has
like-
respect.
There's like 50 of you that haven't voted. Just I have too much respect. Go on, please.
There really are like 10 different people on TFGC that will go on with the name Civilian Gaming, and everyone will make them the civilian by democratic vote, and they will just do an awful impression and voice chat the whole time while running into enemy sentries and dying.
I saw
is
that
that epic?
actually like yesterday.
Is that epic trolling?
Yeah, it's a very common event.
If it does happen, I will. I once that poll is over, I will get some voice lines up, and I might do a
Is
cheeky
that? Well, no,
impression.
you must listen to the chat, Sam. They are your
The
rulers.
other day, I gassed myself up in game chat. I said, "I'm a civilian main, guys, please."
Civvy man.
And then we lost the game so hard. Like that
Yeah,
was the
you
that was
kept
the
running
worst.
in.
Yeah.
That was the worst I've ever like.
No, you like embarrassed. No, I gassed you up. I was like, guys, you got to vote for him. He's a pro civilian man.
Couldn't push out a spawn.
No, I will say in the beta, some of my greatest triumphs and biggest failures have absolutely been playing the Civ. It is such a high stress environment for me. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but I think having your whole team have to rally around you is something that some people can really get behind.
You don't have to play Civvy as well. You can literally just bow it off to someone else if you don't want to have.
Yeah,
all the
or
pressure.
just switch to spectator or something for a
I
second.
really
like,
like
you know.
I really like people who really get into it, not in a way where they go civilian gaming, but like people who like start being the like shot caller and like voice shower, like, all right, guys, to the right,
No, I'm
stick
just
together.
I'm
go,
just
go,
saying-
This is what we
go."
want. Like people that use the voice chat and become like actual team leaders. I think that's maybe the peak of TF2C.
That is, I know. I won't lie. I do get into that role now and then when I'm playing.
And then all talk is on, so then the enemy team is like, shut the fuck up.
I know. I remember one time I said I'm pushing in. Right, hit. I said to my medic, I was like, hit me with the crits. And then I came in. I was like, oh wait, they can hear me. And then it just Ubered.
It really wouldn't be the same without alt talk. I mean, you know, we've had people that just are so, you know, well known that they'll join the server and go into voice chat and be like, guys, I've had a rough one today, and it just, you know, people just feel like at home to an
That's
extent
good.
that is both funny and endearing.
Do you know why that feeling exists? All right, because back in the day, 2014, all right, there was no Discord. Everyone had to use like the only voice chat there was like Skype. So there were no Discord servers to like just like talk to people randomly. So what people used to do back in the day, what I used to do, so I used to just go in TF2's like community servers, and I would just talk to the people in there while shooting, and that was basically my like equivalent of like Discord. So in a lot of the way. It brings back that nostalgia for me specifically in a way, because it's just like, you know, where you just hop in a game and then you just like, you know, it's like a group chat with guns, and it's peak. I love that.
Sam, only 30% of self-respect.
You're gonna need to do some like mega glazing to get this percent.
Okay. Wait, is the thing? Oh, you haven't ended it.
It's over.
It's over,
It's
Sam.
over.
You loot, right?
Do I have to do it right now or?
Yes.
Okay. Give me the voice line. I'm trying to. I can't think of one off the top of my head now.
We have a wiki page where all the voice lines are
Yeah,
listed and linked.
Bring him the wiki page.
We're
I
really
know. I
pulling up
genuinely.
wiki
I'm on the wiki. I can't find the voice line page. Just.
What? Civilian responses.
One thing I want to commend you guys for is that you have a really good wiki, which helps when you're trying to research your game for like podcasts and videos.
Civilian.
For comparison, I've been doing a video on Open Fortress. Love that game to bits. It's amazing. We had the devs on. It was a great time. But their wiki, their quote unquote wiki, which isn't even their wiki. It's just made by some guy. Is like nothing. It's just like has nothing on it, and it
even has like made up information.
the
Like
dev
they
said-
wrote a backstory for the like mercenary class that was just like based on nothing.
No, I remember we had the dev on. I said, hey, hey, by the way, could you like, I said to him, hey, I just like Sully, hey, nudge, could you update your wiki because there's not a lot of information on there. And he just said flat out said, do not go on there because it's not ours. We don't own it, and it's spreading misinformation. I was like, oh, fantastic! I've just been using that. Then.
Yeah. So
No,
the wiki is, I think.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
no,
first
yeah, go
thing.
for it.
Oh, what? Yeah, I was gonna say that's one of the first things I did, I think, after I got involved with the project was trying to host a proper wiki for it. But I still just provide the hosting. Most of the credit reasonably would go to Technochips that did all the CSS and visual customization for the wiki to make it really feel special, and Bavirato slash Ratboy Slim that did basically all the heavy lifting on the actual writing for the wiki, going into different classes and trying to test in game and get exact stats on weapons and things like that that we can write down, and just kind of filling it out to really feel like a comprehensive wiki. It really wouldn't be anything without the other people that have put so much time and effort into making it, something that's actually informative and useful.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can actually contribute to the wiki as a fan. So if you want to do that, you can get in contact and help out. So it's really awesome.
So I can just make up a fake backstory for the civilian.
Here we go. As that happens.
Yeah, you can create your own canon in real time.
He was like unfrozen from the 17th century in like an ice.
Bend the lore to your will.
Bend the lore to
Get
Get in touch, guys.
He ingested short, fat pills, which made him short and fat. Sam, or is this impression coming along?
Come on,
okay,
the chat has spoken. It's time.
Okay, fuck's sake.
Come on, Sam.
Right, do you want... I don't... What do you... Okay,
The
alright.
people have spoken. Sam, come on.
No, I can't. I'm too much of a squeaker. I don't have that fucking...
This is your punishment for like being the... This is your like worst episode yet. Like you've been fumbling the whole episode.
He didn't come on. He didn't come on last week. He like dodged our messages. This is your punishment.
Alright, okay.
I think this just goes to prove voice acting is hard.
Voice acting is hard, especially when your voice doesn't fit the fucking... I like, you can hear my voice. I'm a fucking squeaker, alright? I can't like get that low. Right.
All I'm hearing
hello.
is excuses.
Hello, doctor, attend to me, please.
That was pretty
Right,
good.
I'm not...
I'll give you that. That was
that.
good. That wasn't bad. I'll fuck with it.
That's it. I did my one impression.
That was good. Well done. Good. Everyone give Sam a round of applause. Come on, can we get some claps in the chat?
Fantastic.
Claps.
Fantastic.
Well done, Samuel.
I'm on push to talk. I
100.
can't
Get
applause.
spam 100s in chat.
Killing time, yes.
For that wonderful
Killing
impression,
time!
you can go and donate to the stream.
I don't think we have a donation thing.
We don't have.
We
Oh,
don't,
no?
I don't think we accept it
Okay.
yet.
Well, set
We-
aside all the money that you were going to donate and give it to Volta for instead, so it helps TFTC.
Cheers.
There you go.
Donate to the game. Like, we don't even do this for money. We just like having a pod. We just like hosting a pod.
We
Actually,
just like
guys, you
listening
should
to
give
the
it
sound of our own
Give it to my
voice and
Patreon, which
sniffing
I
our own
don't
fart.
have.
Don't do your own Patreon. Shut up, bro.
That I don't know. Just pick a random YouTuber, give it to their Patreon if you have any money.
Yeah, give it to
Patreon.com/ZenithVX.
Slash Zane.
You know, like it doesn't even matter like where the money goes. We just like don't want you to have it.
It's the thought that counts, that you gave money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's talk about the thing on visuals. We just talk about random bullshit for 8 hours. Indy, do you have a big main topic? Do you want to switch to? Because our last topic.
Our last major topic is something we touched on with the Open Fortress dev as well. Valve's quote unquote deal that they made with both Open Fortress and TF2 Classic. Do you have any sort of information for us regarding that? Because there was some brand new news about a month ago. I'm sure you've both heard of that, but is there anything on that end that you guys can share?
We wish that we had something. So I think that there was a communications issue with that news. Not one that was our fault, because we also were, I think, misled at first. But it was clarified by Eric after the fact that he does not want to use the word arrangement, and that it's probably going to look more like additional modding support that's within TF2. And so that still raises a bunch of questions. We don't exactly know what that's going to involve. We don't know if that's even going to accommodate a lot of the things that we need personally. Because our changes have grown to the point where it's really hard for us to exist as a mod for TF2. We've made low-level changes. Just recently we added like the new player shading, for instance, and that required modifying the game shaders directly to accommodate that. Uh, there's just so many little things. So we would like to be in touch with Eric about this. We would like to know exactly what's going to be permitted if they try to make it so that we can mod ourselves within TF2. But we just aren't, I guess, super optimistic about it at this point still, and we're just kind of holding with bated breath to see what happens. It does seem like Eric isn't really willing to share further details at this point, so we don't have much to do but wait and see. Certainly, we would love to get licensed. We would love to be something that has like explicit approval that could even like use a modern version of Source Engine and not the 2007 version of Source Engine that's publicly accessible. That would be wonderful, but that's not something that we're reasonably anticipating because Valve seems very cagey about doing that for TF2 mods.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation about this. Remember, we had the Open Fortress dev on, and there's a lot of things that like people like assume that aren't like true. What was
I was gonna ask that. I was gonna say, you were saying like Eric wanted it to be more of adding things to make it easier to mod, but I was gonna ask, do you think that like all these like it's server changes or not server changes like not patch notes that TF2's been got in the last couple of months or a couple of months ago, like adding 100 players, all that stuff? I thought that would have gone to it, but then you said, you are working on a 2007 version of Source or TF2,
Yeah.
so
it's very
if you want to be specific, they used to maintain a public SDK that was based on TF2, and that was last updated in 2015 or so. But even like modern live TF2 is still fundamentally based on 2007 Orange Box code. It doesn't have any of the stuff they added or optimized for like Left 4 Dead 1 and onwards. And so it means that it runs much slower than it otherwise could if it got the more recent optimizations. It's missing many features, many quality of life improvements. It's really unfortunate. This impacts both us and live TF2.
Yeah, you guys are still on 32-bit, right?
Yeah, and it's not really possible for us to upgrade without help from Valve in that regard, because we don't really have like engine code. We're using like pre-made engine binaries that Valve supplies. And so a lot of things we can't change that or do anything about that unless we got an engine license at some point, which again seems like Valve isn't really interested in doing.
It's such a shame as well, because when that stuff started happening, when you guys took down downloads, what I thought was going to happen was like an official Steam release or something.
That would be so peak. I'm just saying.
That's what they seem to promise too in the initial correspondence that's like been leaked all over the internet by now. They used the word arrangement and they talked about finding a way for us to get on Steam. And it maybe seems like they've backpedaled a bit from there, but like the person that reached out to us was not Eric anyways. And so I assume it's been kind of kicked around internally, and it's really hard to tell like where they actually are and all that by now.
Yeah, I'd say that's the trickiest thing, is just all the mixed messages, both coming from Valve, both things that people are talking about in the community. There's a lot of confusion around it, so it's kind of hard to say anything definitively.
Well, there was one question that I asked the Open Fortress devs, and I'm just gonna ask you because you might have had a different response to it. But when when was it? A month or two ago, or maybe it was longer. Yeah, it was probably longer. When certain TF2 or like Source projects started getting taken down, like the TF2 Source 2 got taken down, Portal 64. There was a lot of assets that were taken off certain websites. Were yous worried at all that was gonna affect yous, or did yous kind of have an understanding that was like that's not really what they're...
Momentarily. I think it kind of rebounded after realizing that it was mostly because they were using non-source engines for their projects. And in general, Valve is a lot more friendly towards modding projects that are still on source and still kind of exist like within that ecosystem.
It's weird. I was worried
Yeah.
the quote unquote like new lawyers, like Saul Goodmans they hired, that just like were just gonna like swipe down everything. But
I don't know.
They
I don't
definitely are
even.
more aggressive than they used to be.
mm,
I think that the era is over of a super mod-friendly Valve that's actively trying to work with people, and it kind of feels like if they do anything at this point, it's kind of just because we've forced their hand, and they realized there would be a lot of PR blowback if they try to go after us too hard, which isn't like the relationship we want to have. We would like to be friendly and amenable and cooperative.
of course, yeah, no. If it was just like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, because then it would be everyone. It would be like happy rainbows, dolphins flying through the sea. But for right now, it is just like.
Well, okay. I will ask you this. What if you had to pick one thing? What would you like from Valve?
Uh, is the scope limitless here? Just one of anything?
Just what? Just
One-
name the thing you would most like
A
from Valve.
Valve branded genie has
No,
come.
no. So more communication. Would you like a
I'll-
certain
a
build
pat on the
of
back,
the
and
game?
a pat on the
what-
back,
okay.
and a good job, and an attaboy.
a
You know,
sticker.
these things are all very connected. I mean, like, I think that the obvious answer is, like I said, engine license. We would love to be able to, like, not only have, like, the approval necessary to get on Steam and to not be using leaked code, but to be able to make lots of under-the-hood improvements that are either very difficult or impossible right now.
Actually, that thing about engine license, there's a lot. I think I just answered my own question. I was gonna say, there's a lot of games on Steam that aren't by Valve that use a source engine. So why is it hard for you? But then I remembered these are a TF2 mod, so
they're
there's
using
gonna be a lot
Valve's
of
fucking-
that's I
Oh,
just answered
no, that
my
is
own.
interesting though, because again, there's kind of two versions of Source, right? There's like the public version that you can use where you're basically like a Half-Life 2 mod, and that's kind of the position that we're in right now. And then there's the internal version that you need a license for that has all of the post Left 4 Dead improvements. If you've seen all the recent Portal mods on Steam, like Portal Desolation, Portal Revolution, Portal Community Edition, like they've taken like the Counter-Strike Global Offensive version of Source 1, and they've iterated on it and fixed a bunch of things and made it like a really modern engine that still has all this nice backwards compatibility and the like. And that is the thing that we would love to use if possible, to be on the latest and greatest version of Source and not the 2007 one. But it's really entirely up to Valve. They would just need someone from their legal team to say, yes, you have permission to do this.
I saw it from the chat, but also I was wondering, what are these improvements from like Left 4 Dead onward that you guys like really want that you feel like you're missing? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Oh, well, the biggest one is just performance. Because the 2007 version of Source is honestly poorly optimized, and I think this really limits what you can do in a game. TF2 has so many shortcuts just trying to improve performance in spite of that. And I mean, we've done like internal testing and evaluation. We've experimentally ported TF2C to a newer version of Source, and we were able to get like, I think it was like 20 to 30% higher FPS in scenes. And that's just like really basic scenes too. The things that they optimize, things like shadow rendering and stuff like that, they're things that TF2 deliberately tries to avoid making use of because they're so poorly optimized. And if they were better optimized, we could do very impressive things that are just kind of untenable right now.
I think it would be.
I was going to ask, just going back to what you said about the Portal mods. I actually forgot there was Portal mods on the Steam. Why do you think the Portal mods have gotten that go ahead, the license to use the source engine, or
Even the IP.
not just because like it's not if it's I don't think I wouldn't say well like, obviously I'm not an inside source. I wouldn't say it's a thing of the IP if it's because Portal is an IP as well, and as well as TF2. So if it's not that they don't want people using another IP. So what do you like? Do you think you like have any suspicions on why the Portal mods can get oh, the fuck, I can't think
What are
of
you
my
even
words.
talking
They
about,
can
Sam?
get the
I think I get what you're asking.
yeah.
Yeah, like why is Valve friendly towards Portal mods and not TF2 mods? I think that the answer, we've asked this ourselves internally. I think it really comes down to the potential like impact on the economy of those games, because Portal is a single player experience where the only income comes from people buying the game itself, and TF2 is a multiplayer live service where there's, I think, a much greater threat if the player base were to play a source mod over the live game.
I think
And
there's also
so,
probably
sorry, go on.
oh yeah, sorry. No, I think I guess that you could also kind of say like I know Valve shows a lot of interest sort of in Portal still. Like they'll do their little Portal tech demos for new technologies and things. So it is also one of those things where like we definitely can't say for certain. Um, there could be multiple factors. It could literally just be somebody really likes Portal and just gets involved with Portal. But yeah, I would say that's the best bet.
I think it's like because the thing is, right, TF2 is a free game, but it is a money maker, right? If everyone starts
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
if everyone starts playing a new version of TF2 where there is no microtransactions, it's probably like, oh, where's all our money going? Well, even though they probably have like infinite money because they own Steam, but they are a business,
Yeah,
so that's probably the main reason, I'd imagine.
they make millions off of basically every seasonal update. It's difficult to entirely grasp the extent of how many keys they sell and how many crates people open.
Exactly, gambling is a money maker. Who would
I
have
love where that money goes. Nowhere.
Yeah, it's not funding TF2, but you know,
Big Gabe's pocket. That's where it goes.
Yeah, what is he?
it's funding Dota 2 development.
Is is TF2 Classic playable on the Steam Deck? I know, random question.
Oh, no, yeah, it is. I don't think we'd recommend it. I think the controller support is still very iffy for various reasons.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, all the basics are there. You can install it on the Steam Deck without too many issues, and it runs, it launches.
That's pretty cool.
If you, in fact, whenever I was at a friend's house, I docked my Steam Deck to their TV and hooked up a mouse and keyboard, and I was participating in our like internal playtests just using that.
Yeah, I've had somebody who I frequently play with that basically exclusively plays on the Steam Deck, so it is very much possible.
That's pretty cool.
On that note, I appreciate you guys having like native like controller support. Because one time I hooked it up to my TV and I just played on the couch, just like that. It was a lot easier than hooking up TF2 because they make it like needlessly complicated for some reason.
All it needs
Yeah.
is some Fortnite aim assist where if you like go slightly near the
Oh,
head,
yeah.
headshot every time. Where the bullets like bend around to fit the player to hit the player.
That'd be great.
New weapon
Who knows?
confirmed.
We can make a controller only server.
Controller only.
The Xbox 360 server.
They should
Yeah, yeah.
they should make like an Xbox. They should like remake Xbox 360 TF2 as a source mod. I don't even know what.
Well,
would be...
on that note, I do think that like if we add too many original weapons, we might make just like a stock weapon server for people that do want the authentic 2007 experience without all of our subjective additions.
That's true. You could do like a true classic TF2
those
mode.
I thought those already existed because I saw in the server browser one time there was like 2008 flashback, and then when I joined it, you could only use stock weapons because
That was a very long time ago. We haven't had that since 2.1 or so, but we'd probably bring something akin to that back. That was kind of a deeper server that also changed a lot of things, like teleporters cost 125 metal again, that I think are maybe less interesting to the average player than just having the same like modern TF2 mechanics for the most part, but with only stock weapons.
You should you could add like a what is it? True 2007 mode, and it has like all like the like this is like all the hardcore changes, like pyro is WM1 class, no air blast, you can't move buildings.
No, yeah. Before 2008 flashback, we had 2007 flashback, and that was exactly that. We just kind of made it as close to launch TF2 as possible using all the different features that we have in game. And it was very historically accurate, but I don't think anyone ever enjoyed playing on that for 1 second.
We played a 2007 build of TF2, Party and I. This was a long time ago now.
We did it for we had a full server of it.
It was fun for a whole 3
I,
hours.
no, I'm
I
gonna be
think.
honest. I did enjoy it. I think,
it
but it
was
was mostly to the fact that we were playing with a whole server full of people that we all
full of
knew.
like friends.
That we all
knew.
knew, and it was like so I was like 20. There was like 20 people in the game, and there was 10v10 basically, and we knew.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
I'd say
dustful.
that's honestly that's kind of one of the big deciding factors of how many servers we can run and what variety is just what our player base can support. So the more players we have, the more servers we can have, and the more variety we can have in between those servers. So if you want more servers, hey, get your friends to play TFC Classic.
I've got a really weird question. This is just like completely out of the blue, but if you like, say if you made like Civi merch, would you own the rights to the civilian character as like a group, or is that or is it still
we're
based in
we're
TF2?
always thinking about the most important thing in modding, which is how to make the most money possible. And so we've occasionally evaluated things like, a marketable civilian plushie that we can sell.
That'd actually be pretty cool.
Just to fund like internal like drug addictions and other sorts of things that cost a lot.
Oh yeah, of course. Working late nights, it
Yeah.
does come at a cost at your like sanity. So I understand.
Yeah, we at MANN
yeah.
Magazine know.
Yeah.
Yeah, our developer turnaround's very high. There's a lot of people getting sent off. So
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Constant drama.
I
This
did.
is not
I did like.
here to the art style. Get out!
Pack your bags. Go.
Go, you're gone.
I will say
Stop.
more seriously, honestly, like we've had more people join, and it's always cool because it kind of spices things up and brings life to new things. But no, I would say like pretty much everyone we have to work with is super awesome. So
Yeah, no, it's just TF2 fans that are like hardest, like highest possible level of TF2 fan when you can like remake the game. It's like level 9,000 TF2 player you've like found.
yeah, no, it's great to be able to work with people that are so passionate about the same thing and just sort of like being able to click that way and just sort of all be on the same page to some degree.
That's cool. What is
Team Fortress 2?
Team Fortress 2?
That's the one.
That's the game, baby. Sam, what do you think about TF2?
Hardy, why do you keep asking me questions that are just completely off topic?
I don't know. It's funny.
So, worst Swishcast host aside, we want to ask. So we've talked about the past, the present. Do you have any more things about the future you guys can share with us before we move on to the Q&A?
So yeah, I think that we do want to hold at least some cards close to our chest because I think a big part of, the enjoyment of an update comes from the day reveals as you kind of learn about all the content that gets trickled out, as well as just the kind of more subtle teasers that you would put out before the update is released. And so we have the things that we've talked about. There's some things that we aren't going to talk about. In terms of the new weapons, yeah, the ones that we have talked about would be the Anchor for Soldier, the Earthquake kind of weapon, the Nader for Medic, a medigun alternative where you can kind of heal people with projectiles instead of a beam, and it also has this sort of invincibility dome that you can put down for the overcharge. And then for Civilian, the Vaudeville Hook / Citizen's Cane that we've been working on that is trying to, rather than giving people mini crits, I think the current design is that it can kind of speed people up in every regard. Fire speed, reload speed, walk speed, things like that. Which might change. Everything is subject to change. I think it especially. We're still trying to see, like, can we make this like more interesting, which we may or may not do before the update comes out. But that's just what we're confident in right now. There's also plenty of stuff, obviously, that we're still thinking about for just updates that are gonna happen past this, because I think we always have like at least 2 major updates in the works in a certain way, both in terms of the stuff that we're trying to finish up to push soon, and the stuff that we're still prototyping and playtesting and thinking about for 2.3 that comes afterwards. And so we have
One
game
step
modes
ahead.
in the works of different scopes and sizes, some of which we've kind of hinted at, some of which we haven't. We have like so many weapon concepts that we have to bring up, and we've been already making concept art for those and things like that as well. We really want to fill gaps in classes that haven't really received that much yet. Like engineer and spy, we hear a lot from people that play these classes saying that they just don't really have as much variety of playstyle as they do in live TF2. And so I think that kind of building out the kit for engineer and spy is going to be a focus for the update after the upcoming update, at least.
So he's thinking 2
Yeah, and there's
steps
also the
ahead.
case with maps where we're trying to sort of fill in game modes that either don't have a lot of maps or don't have as much variety. And also just sort of listening to the community. And honestly, like we've put out polls before saying, hey, what kind of game mode would you like a new map to be? So things like that are useful, but also honestly, it's just playing on the servers and, observing, listening to the voice chat, watching how people play, seeing what, could work and what the game could benefit from. It's a really good way to do it. So
Any more domination maps in the works? Because there's not many, and I really enjoyed that game mode. I think it has a lot of potential.
Uh, yeah, I don't know how much I'm at liberty to say, but there may or may not be one in the upcoming update, and there are certainly others in the works that kind of have like an undefined release date. They might get cut. Mostly internal mapping is going to be based on just like what do our mappers want to work on? Were they passionate about what seems to play test well? And domination is something that we're still trying to experiment with based on, I guess, just how people have responded to the current domination maps in the game. Because I think with a lot of our new game modes, there's still a lot of abstract thinking about like what is like the platonic ideal for this game mode in the same way that you have like Viaduct for Koth and things like that.
yeah, so I'd say basically any class that feels like it has holes in it, or any game mode that feels like it has a lack of maps, like they're definitely on the table for potential update content.
What about Turbine 2? Would you guys consider making that?
Yeah, eight,
Maybe
18,
not.
14.
I mean,
18.
if there's anything that has changed, it's that we are, I think, more liable to look at stock maps and consider ways that we could improve them, especially
Yeah.
visually
Oh,
compared to before.
That's true. Like,
But we kind of avoid like gameplay or layout changes, and I think that we also want to avoid like game mode conversions of stock maps whenever possible, because we think it's a bit more interesting to try to make entirely new in-house maps whenever we have game modes that we want to show off.
Right, I've avoided asking these types of questions. I am a big TF2 lore head, and I don't want to ask. I don't think this podcast should be about that, but I've been seeing those scientist dudes all around the map, and it does make the map feel a lot more alive. But are they gonna play a bigger role ever, or are they just purely decoration?
I mean, I'll be like blunt. It really could go either way because I think that the idea behind them is one that was, I think, mainly relevant to older iterations of the dev team, and they probably had like maybe a more clear idea of what exactly they wanted to do with that. And so I think that now our goals have shifted a little bit. I don't know if we have any really firm plans for how we're going to use the scientist character, but I think that we always do want to make use of characters like that people latch onto and can kind of like project a lot of personality into as well to make the world kind of feel a bit more expansive and alive
Yeah, and
than maybe players are used to.
I can speak a little bit more to like I guess the very vague, broader lore if you'd like.
yeah, because I was about to
Yeah,
wonder.
go for it.
I was wondering that.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't have very complicated lore right now, go figure, but it is something we get asked about a lot. So there's clearly actually a fair deal of interest in it. And also, there's obviously things in the game already that suggest interesting lore implications, the VIP 4 team. So, as far as our basic lore goes, and we've had talks about wanting to make it a little more obvious, but we're kind of following the, old school 2007-esque lore of, secret holding companies sort of fighting for control over the world, classic spy-fi kind of stuff. So kind of a little less silly stuff, slightly more grounded. But we're also definitely looking for ways to sort of expand our lore through updates and teasers and kind of, fill in the world a little bit. So there's definitely plans. There's definitely things in the works that I think will help with that. But it's also just like we have a fairly blank slate to work off of. So there's some different directions we kind of can explore.
My headcanon of the lore has always been it's like a kind of like a TF2 parallel universe, except that where it's like instead of like 2 teams like underneath like Manco with like Saxon Hale who supplies more weapons, it's like what if there was no Manco and everyone was just like free reign? Do you know what I mean? That's why there'd be like 4 teams and
Yeah, like
I'd say
mercenaries
honestly,
properly.
yeah.
no
like
items.
one of our big defining features as far as lore goes right now is more like what isn't canon versus what is. So we have a lot of stuff like no Australium, no Man Brothers.
Yeah.
that kind of
I
stuff. So
noticed there's no
yeah,
Saxon Hale either.
no Saxton Hale. So and also I would say like I know there are definitely some people who could maybe see that as like being kind of like, oh, I really like this element, but it also definitely opens the door for new things.
Yeah, I was like, I always imagine it as just like an A, like a TF2 AU. That's in my head, in my like head canon.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like one of the big things I would like in our project too is, for those familiar, Minecraft's better than adventure mod. There's a lot of similarities there. If anybody knows that.
I think
Yeah,
Indy knows that.
I make a in my upcoming video, I make the connection that it's like a alternative timeline version of TF2, where what if these design decisions were made instead of the ones we ended up with? Is that's sort of the way I've been looking at this so far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think it would be, really exciting to just have like our own lore, our own like kind of background and world built around these characters that maybe like aligns more closely with what they were intended to be back in 2007. Because people point out, for example, like kind of the dissonance between like Pyro's characterization in game through voice lines and taunts versus kind of what they established with like Meet the Pyro and Pyrovision and things like that. And so I think that having the opportunity to have very fluent and elegant continuity between how the characters behave and the world that we construct around them, how that would look and feel.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of room there. Like TF2 as it launched, everything kind of fell into place in a really nice way that is kind of cool to be able to explore more. This sort of Cold War parody where you have two sides fighting for control using mercenaries. Like it all kind of fits with the gameplay really well. And so that's something we kind of want to keep in mind, is having everything make sense in game versus just, on a story draft.
Definitely makes it a lot more exciting if you guys do end up honing in more on lore, it's going to make it a lot more exciting for the audience to grasp onto it, because it's not just more of the same from TF2's.
Yeah,
world.
it makes it feel like, the thing is, it will help make it like distinguish it and make it feel like its own thing rather than just a
where you
TF2
don't
mod.
really know what's gonna like happen, or
Yeah,
you don't know
I think
literally everything.
it makes
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll make the updates like really exciting as well, because you can like find like cool ways to like tie a story into like how you like progress each update. It will help.
Yeah, I think we really want to tie into the sort of mystery and intrigue of like this, secret spy bases and what they sort of imply. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, sounds really cool, man. Indy,
What do you think, Sam?
What do you think? What do you think? Not Samuel G.
I love lore.
Yeah.
What I could imagine, I don't know if anyone's played RimWorld, but it has just a button on the main menu that links to like a Google Doc that's just like a fiction primer that explains kind of like the entire world they've created and the history inside of it and things like that. It's just like it's just a deep lore dump that kind of, it helps you like kind of understand not just like what's going on, but also like if you're looking to, as a fan, write things that feel correct in universe, you kind of have that background laid plain out for you.
Yeah, it's kind of one thing I wanted to do a little bit is, maybe having like a page on the website that just sort of has a really, really basic premise and setup and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but I
No,
thought
what you gotta do before when you boot up the game, unskippable cutscene, like 10 minutes long, and it's just like somebody like not like an animation, like just an actual like man standing in front of a green screen, just like rattling off any lore they can think
and then
of.
you have to do a 10-minute.
How did you know what we were working on? Did you leak this?
and then just at the end, like it's like, well, I'll leave you alone now.
And then
Time
you
to
have
have
to-
fun.
and then,
every match,
it plays every single time you boot up the game.
And every match does the Star Wars Battlefront 2 thing of being,
Oh.
all right, men, we're red team and they are blue team. Let's take the control points. And then Soldier comes in. I didn't know it was going to be this way.
And then
The enemy is being reinforced with an airship. Those will be added.
And then you have to do a 5-minute trailing mission. We have to follow the civilian back to his house.
When are you adding aimed airstrikes to a?
When the civilian gets in his car, you enter a Grand Theft Auto-esque mini game with the other team has to shoot him off the road.
Oh, TF2 story mode.
The Helldivers 2 tie-in is imminent.
No, I do like what you
Alright.
got. It's just a lot of the stuff you can just kind of like. I've just kind of got my own head canon right now, which is like But
Yeah, and that's fine. I think that we like how much the community kind of tends to like theorize and build up their own canon where none currently exists. But we do want to fill it out officially.
Yeah, you gotta have the map hats put it together for you. You put the pieces and let.
And I mean, there is work in trying to like kind of de-lorify the game. Like in the footage, for instance, like we have like a modified version of Powerhouse, and what's unseen are all the MANN decals we had to remove around the map.
Oh, I didn't even notice that you'd removed them all. But like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, I'm not sure if it's visible from that shot, anyways, that we took, but it's just kind of slowly trying to go through and make sure that all of the content that we ship is kind of consistent with what we're trying to do.
Okay. Let's get down to the real shit. Let's get down to the brass tacks. Let's get down to the Q&A, guys. Q&A. Let's do a Q&A. So anybody in chat, ask your questions now. Ask your questions now, and they will be forced to answer them because they're on the spot right here, and they have to answer.
It's your turn to be the podcast hosts. We're done.
Let's see if you can do a better. Let's see if you can do a better job than Sam.
The question will be ignored.
Okay.
And if we say that like we don't want to answer that, that's like an answer of its own, and you can like speculate about. Like,
no, you need to answer.
Why is Eminoma trying to cover this up? What are they trying to hide from us?
Will the heavy's balls be
What
visible?
is Big TF2 Classic hiding from us?
Okay, right, we got our first question. I'm gonna go for it. What can you tell us about Deathmatch closed beta after beta 4, such as stuff like cut weapons, the Deathmatch, lever, action shotgun, and the switch from using workshop models to the in-house ones?
I'm not sure if either of us have like a lot of information for that, to be honest, just because I think both of us kind of came in like after Deathmatch, after TFTC was kind of growing into its own as like its own distinct game. I could only maybe allude to just the fact that we don't want to use workshop models because we think like it's better for the art style to design things internally and then kind of get feedback on them internally and iterate on them that way. Just using things off the shelf, you don't really get that privilege. So we want to do as much as we can on our own. But in terms of a deathmatch specifically, yeah, I get the interest because after Beta 4, you kind of have this dead zone where there was nothing publicly released from that before it split off into something entirely different. But yeah, there's not much that I really know that I can tell you about that.
Okay.
Our boss, Yeehaw44, asks, any word on Mist support?
Oh, yeah, Mist.tf. That was the downloader and installer that Pre-Fortress 2 was working on internally. I don't really know that much about it. We've talked briefly with the person that works on it. I really would like for it to be open source if we were ever going to evaluate it, because as it is, it's a little bit impossible to really judge any of the technical specifics of it. Our current downloader and installer was really carefully custom built. We do have Open Fortress, or at least a lot of the people from Open Fortress working on Adastrial, I think that's how you pronounce it. That is just kind of a nice front end that uses a lot of the same technologies that we worked on for our own downloader, but kind of smoothed over a bit so it's not just a command line prompt. And I think that's kind of what we've put a lot of that's the basket that we put our eggs into right now anyways, hoping that that pans out. If they wanted to reach out to us and work with us, we would talk with them and figure something out, but it's not a really high priority internally.
I've got a quick question I just want to ask. What do you use? What are your guys' thoughts on Pre-Fortress? Since you guys have a lot of you kind of in a way you do kind of have like a similar concept of taking TF2 and removing a lot of its features to get like a simple game. Are you like scared you might tread on some of their toes and some of the ideas and like vice versa? Or is it like,
well, I would say that we've kind of moved away from that with time, haven't we? Because we used to try to be more beta accurate, and then we've kind of tried to become more like, TF2 with the classic vibe, classic feel, alternate timeline, while Pre-Fortress has also kind of, I think, relented on being beta accurate for the sake of just being a good game in its own right, rather than trying to be a museum of sorts. And so that's fine. I don't think we tend to tread on each other's toes. We have
I will say, actually,
Oh, sorry?
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say like I'm honestly glad that Pre-Fortress exists though, because it's nice to be able to have that place for people who do want more beta sort of styled things. Um, yeah, it's just I think the more variety in TF2 modding, kind of the better. People, it's kind of everybody wins. So it's nice to see it exist, and it's always fun to watch it develop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I've definitely talked with fans of PF2 that say that, they play it because of things like grenades that definitely don't have a place in TF2C, especially with all of the other changes and additions we've made that would kind of run against them, I suppose. And so I think they just kind of have the freedom to try things that we couldn't. And if people happen to latch onto those things and they really enjoy how they play in the game, then that's just, another option they have.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I am quite interested to see where Pre-Fortress goes because, like, because it's like if I can't really tell if they're wanting to like do like what you're doing of like we start from the beta and then we like make our own thing, or do they like want to like just like capture the feeling of that like trailer, that beta trailer. But
Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of their developers,
Yeah,
but
of
it
course.
seems like they have maybe a similar mindset where they're kind of more thinking about the style and feel of the beta over being like incredibly technically beta accurate at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see where that goes.
Absolutely.
Alter for Nima asks, will you add more features?
No.
No, game
I
finished.
can confirm this just in. More features will be added in the next update.
Okay,
Yeah,
Someone-
you heard it
I've
here
never,
first, folks.
Someone called
I've
us
never,
mad.
I've never seen the Asker in my life. Please ban him from the channel. There was maybe a real question there of will we ever like consider the game to be finished? Because that is a question that we've seen before, and I think that we do want to eventually kind of wind down feature development just to avoid maybe getting to the point that live TF2 is at, where it's kind of overgrown and bloated in a lot of people's eyes. So, for instance, like I think that we might eventually say like we kind of have like enough weapon choices for classes, and we want to pivot and focus more on game modes or something else like that, like environments where you can use the tightly honed selection of weapons that we have.
Well, I think that's also one of the benefits we have is that we can kind of keep tweaking things even after they've been added. So it's not like the only way to spice something up is by adding something entirely new.
There's a person in chat asking about TF2 Classic competitive.
Oh yeah, so there is a community organized competitive server hosted by Japanezel75, and they've been doing weekly games for a while. I think it is always very cool to see the community kind of spearheading their own efforts to, I guess, recreate those types of sub-communities from live TF2 that we've kind of lacked up to now.
I have a question that I've just come up with. This is I'm gonna get one thing I love to do on this podcast. I love to give people hypothetical scenarios and see how they handle them. Okay, so here's one I've got for you. Okay, breaking news: TF2 has been shut down by by Valve. All the servers have gone offline. Item servers gone. Community servers off the record. Now all the player base has to migrate, and they choose TF2 Classic. How do you cope?
Well, I mean, I think that there'd be the first week of the game being completely inaccessible from our servers being down. But once you get past that, once we scale to meet demand, I mean, I think that we wouldn't really have a big issue with a large community. I think we're always trying to grow the community and get more players in.
Yeah, well,
And
having like 500 servers be like insanely expensive.
well, it'd be the way that TF2 operated before Meet Your Match, I assume, where you have some official servers and then you have community servers too that we don't manage that people are free to join.
So you think you would be up to the task of
You could
handling
weather
that?
the storm.
You could sort this
Well,
out.
more people is also, in theory, more donations, so that we
Oh.
would be able to have the proper hosting for it.
So you'd be crying but smiling, really.
That's
Yeah.
apt. I think that's apt.
Because yeah, we don't accept development donations via our server hoster, who is technically a separate entity with their own management and staff, etc. They accept donations that are solely used to host the servers. And so if our player count increases linearly with donations, then we'll just kind of rise to meet demand, or they will anyways.
Okay, cool. So I'm trusting you in case that does happen. I'm trusting you to sort that out. Okay.
We'll do what we can. We've
do
been
our
trying
best.
to be able to scalable. Certainly, there was a time around Death and Taxes where every time we released an update, there would be so much attention that our servers would go down, or at least our download servers would. and we've been able to since
I
then kind of get to a
remember.
more stable point.
I remember when Fight or Flight came out, and I was downloading the update through the command prompt at 1 kilobit per second, and I was like about to punch my screen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I always have to use the privilege of being a developer to like install a major update beforehand, just to like avoid the crowding.
we tried really hard to avoid that because we got this fancy downloader. Like it doesn't look like much, but like on the back end, it's having to like it pull from like 9 different download servers to try to like level the loadout a little bit, and that was not enough. Every single download mirror was completely saturated. But thankfully, the patches since 2.1 came out, the littler ones haven't really gotten to that point, so they've always been pretty quick and easy for people.
Silver asks, "What do you see the team behind TF2 Classic a decade from now? Like, I assume where do you see them?"
Retired? I don't know.
You that
Dead in a
old?
ditch.
Well,
You that
I
old?
would say like one really nice thing about the project is that like like you've heard us say, like we weren't on since the beginning, so there's always sort of this like inevitable rotation of developers that happens as people just sort of move on or new fresh faces come in and provide new
Yeah.
interesting ideas.
Because if you're talking 10-year plan, we've already been around nearly 10 years, and I think that there is not one person that has been there from the beginning at this point, or even from the first year or so.
I would say one of the biggest focuses for me in terms of trying to future-proof things are just like writing those guides that I've mentioned before, trying to get knowledge documented for the future. But other than that, we just sort of we let people that we think do good work on, and it goes from there.
Yeah, so probably 10 years from now, we'll still be alive, but also I don't think you're gonna see the same faces around. The people that enjoy the game right now will apply for dev and rise through the bureaucracy, and they will become the next generation's leaders.
I think the game will it's one of those things where it's like the master sword. It gets like passed down through time. It will
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just don't have to worry.
Honestly, yeah.
I wonder who will be the Swishcast host 10 years from now. Definitely
Not
not
me.
Sam.
I'll be
Set your
dead.
clocks.
You'll be dead.
We'll have to find another British bloke, another Irish guy.
Yeah, party. We're not gonna have a falling out today, are we?
Well, I didn't call you British. I was calling me British.
Well, we were talking about me.
No, I was gonna say we're gonna have another British bloke, another Irish guy, and another Bosnian.
I think that's the least
Impossible task.
Question from Crowbar: have you guys ever considered a collab with Open Fortress, similar to what Pre-Fortress did?
I'm sure it would depend on what the nature of that collaboration would be. If they approached us, we would definitely talk about it and figure something out. But yeah, I guess I would pass the question back and be like, what would you want to see out of a collaboration? Like a game mode, a map, a weapon? Like what are you like looking for with that?
Well, I think they already have collabed. Well, I might be I might be wrong, but I feel like the nail gun in Open Fortress was like kind of like a bit of a cute reference to TF2 Classic in a way because it's like the same.
It could be,
model.
but
it could be. I might be wrong. It might be its own.
I mean, I know you guys are working on a Saxon Hale equivalent. I could see the Mercenary being like a Saxon Hale, where you could like use every class's like arsenal or something. That's what came to mind.
Another one. There's also the Civilian is also an announcer in Open Fortress, so that's another collab.
Yeah, you can call that a crossover, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say there's also definitely some cross-pollination between members of each development team. So, it's very easy to have communication and sort of, if we wanted to do something like that, we could definitely figure it out.
Yeah, and you did touch on overpowered there. If people do want to hear more about that, we could talk about that, but I don't know how big of a topic that would be.
Honestly, let's go through these questions first.
Bring it up at the end if you want.
Daniel the Awesome asks, can you give us a rough release window for the next major update?
Certainly this year. We definitely have internal estimates, but I think we're always reluctant to give those out just because if we do have to delay, we don't want to have people, mailing us arsenic and saying, or anthrax, not arsenic, and saying like, you promised this, why'd you let us down? Is MNOMA dead? Is TFTC dying? It's definitely a bit easier for us to kind of have it on our own terms when exactly it's ready to release. But we try to avoid having strict deadlines because we kind of take the Valve approach of just give people time to make something that they're really proud of and really like and are really happy to ship. we'll cut scope sometimes if we think like this will take too long and everything else will be ready, and we want to maybe just improve this for a future patch and try to get the bulk of it out as soon as possible.
I suppose what I could say more generally is, we are not looking to have as long of a wait as there was between Death and Taxes and Flight or Flight as there are between feature updates.
That was kind of a product of the fact that there were lots of internal shakeups between those two periods. There was the Valve takedown. There were just lots of factors that made it kind of difficult to develop. And then we kind of finished up Fight or Flight in a relatively short period of time, to be honest.
JJ asks, will any more cut espionage game mode characters show up as map props like the scientist did?
I would doubt that, because I don't think we even have models for the other characters, and I think that we kind of don't want to tread on the ground of the espionage project.
Okay. PsyXAPB asks, will there be more kill icons for environmental deaths? Really, out of everything we could ask.
That's the best question.
We can transition that a little bit into a wider topic of, we actually have been looking at sort of revising some kill icons and sort of updating things and sort of cleaning things out for the sake of consistency and readability. And also, I could say in terms of like environmental hazards, personally, I'm always looking for more funny ways to kill people on maps. So you never know.
Yeah, no, environmental kills will always be funny. As long as there's no stun mechanics, you're good. we don't want to turn into paladins.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Sandman baseball thrower that just like automatically throws balls.
Yeah, it's like an assault rifle. Got fucking that stuns enemies. Here's a good one. Dear TFC developers, will video game acquire a French translation? Please, I am French.
Don't we have one?
I don't know.
I'm like almost confident that we have like a French translation. Oh wait, no, I need to give you the context. The person that asked that is our French translator.
Oh,
okay. I was gonna say, because a lot of our translations are sort of sourced from the community, so that helps a lot.
Oh, okay, cool.
They're also French, to be fair. Remix Revolution asks, will NG get more buildings that aren't just like a mini sentry and more like a cool drone and speed pad?
But before you say that, I just want to quickly glaze. The jump pad is a really, really good
building a jump pad.
Thank you.
Yeah, really improved. There was this thing I was doing. I was playing Huntsman, and all I'd do was I just keep jumping off the jump pad and going for trick shots, and then I killed Indy, and I popped the fuck off with like a 360.
Your mic peaked.
Yeah, like mic peaked.
That's
so
awesome to hear. No, honestly, like I don't think I could pick a favorite weapon, but that's definitely up there. I'm a big fan of the jump pad.
Yeah, so I think that to the extent that we are able to implement them, we do want to add more kit for engineer, and we have internally tested new buildings and things that are, more interesting than just the mini century. We want to have like buildings that really kind of alter the way that you play engineer in a more, I want to say fundamental way, although one that still like keeps within his class role as being support. So for 2.3 probably, don't hold us to this, but we are going to try to add some new stuff for NG.
Raptor Dan, he has an awesome dragon profile picture. Holy shit. What's your favorite class? What do you want to expand about them? And what weapon concept do you want for that one class?
You want both of us to answer this, maybe?
Yeah, each, I guess.
Yeah, you can go first, Wall, if you want to.
Oh, I see what you've done here. This is a tough one.
Okay, if you want me to go first, I can go first.
No, that's all right. I can go. So, I would say my favorite class is the Spy. You will definitely see me running around Volta 4 servers, just being a bit of a menace if I can. For me, I really like the idea of the Spy doing sabotage and not just getting kills as sort of like a way to help out the team. So I know that we've like looked before into giving another sapper slot weapon that maybe doesn't necessarily sap buildings. So maybe something that just sort of fills the role of general sort of espionage or sabotage. So I don't know that I could, come up with on the spot like a specific weapon, but I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That does sound pretty cool.
I think
there was.
I would say that. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna quickly say on the topic of the Zapper thing. They had that idea of was it last episode with the throwable Zapper?
Throwable Zapper.
Throwable Zapper that like doesn't like destroy buildings, but it like disables them for a brief moment. I think that
Yeah, that's a perennial concept.
You never know. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would probably say Heavy. That's the class that I tend to play the most in the public game. And he's been so neglected too, right? It's like he never got his proper update in live, while Pyro's gotten like 3 updates over the game's lifespan. And so I really would like to try to like expand his role a bit. I guess my recent idea, I would really like to make Heavy be able to fill a more conventional tank role than he currently does, because he does have a large health pool, obviously. But I feel like there's not really a comparison to a lot of other games where you have a class that has the main purpose of absorbing damage so his team can fight behind him instead of directly dealing damage, especially with like the direction that Heavy has taken. And so I think that I would enjoy having maybe some kind of shield. We prototyped things like that before, but just something that makes Heavy tankier at the cost of DPS.
There's always that idea that I see floating around of the heavy riot shield with the fence. I always see this one pop up now and then, where you like it's
from that one Meet Your Match comic.
Yeah, exactly. This one, I put it in chat.
Yeah, so I would personally love something like that if we could find a way to iterate it into something that people don't think is awful to play against.
Definitely not that verse. Can you put that on screen? Like, look at those stats.
So many stats.
Too many stats.
Yeah, I don't know about those stats particularly, but
I'm like waiting for it to come up right now. Is this like a knockout version of it?
No, it's in chat as well.
You can look at high. Oh my god, high in the Discord.
Oh, okay. Let me look real quick.
A peek behind the curtain.
Yeah. Oh, I see. The chain link defense. That is quite a lot of stats. Yeah, I think that we try to avoid overly complex weapons. We want ones that kind of speak for themselves and that don't have to like, alter too many class mechanics.
Yeah, one that you can kind of like summarize in a sentence.
That's like definitely the way with weapons, because I feel like with recent balance changes in TF2, weapons have been going straying away from just being a simple concept to like some crazy like hive mind of stats that are like confusing and just don't really, and like you need to like read.
Please list the stats of the Pomsen.
I think there's a lot of temptation to do that if you want to like perfectly balance something, but I think a lot of what we're going for is just, is it fun to play? Is it fun to fight against? That kind of thing. So we can kind of get away with it.
Yeah, and it's like, I think the focus should be fun first, obviously. Fun first. Balancing is like, it's obviously important. Like, you don't want a weapon to be overpowered, but like, if you like focus too hard on balancing, you get that, like, you get in that like weird thing where like all the weapons just feel a bit like the same, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, in my mind, balance is sort of the vehicle for fun rather than like the end game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always so that's like, because like a lot, they've been doing that recently. Remember the Jungle Inferno update? They removed we did a whole episode it was our live episode where we did like the face cams where we all met up in person. We had a quick talk about trickle down balancing and stuff, where it's like a lot of weapon like ideas kind of get stripped away in favor of trying to make them more balanced for competitive, which kind of makes them like
I'll never shut up about Panic Attack.
Yeah, the Panic Attack
so fun.
Yeah,
the old Panic Attack.
We unapologetically disavow the trickle-down balance doctrine. We are trying to make things be fun for our environment, which are public Volta 4 servers.
Yes, you completely it's like you just watched our episodes. You just basically said exactly what we said in like the entire hour of us yapping.
Yeah.
Happy to help.
So many of these chat questions are inside jobs, industry plans. We have like our third lead developer typing, "Can I apply as developer, please?"
What do I exploit?
Are development applications open?
They are, but I will preface that with the fact that we don't honestly look at them that often because we look at them on kind of like an as needed basis. And so if we like realize like we need like modelers or programmers, we will go to our applications and look for candidates that kind of fit that. But if you apply and you don't hear back for a long time, that doesn't mean that like we've rejected you. It probably just means we don't need you yet. If you want a more clear answer, you can always just message me or another lead developer on Discord, and we will try to get back to you about it if we have like any specific concerns or anything. But the forum is just kind of the easiest way, I guess, to put yourself in if you would like to contribute.
Sam, do you want to ask a question from the chat?
See, I'm looking at the chat. There's not many that haven't actually been answered in within the podcast. And ones that aren't, will sharks be added to TFC or TFC?
shark.
There
are sharks. Is that one map where there's a shark?
There are some interesting questions though.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
you might have to
trying-
scroll up a bit, to be honest. I think we kind of talked through
scroll-
a lot of them being asked.
Scroll up.
Are you
The
accepting
person asking about weapon reskins is gonna get banned.
Where's that?
Yeah.
Where's
No,
that?
I don't think
No,
they're doing.
that's-
I don't think
that's-
they're doing what you think they're doing.
Yeah, that's not. I think
I
they're
don't-
being genuine.
I think that's an actual question. I don't think they're doing.
Oh,
they're
okay.
not.
I thought they were doing that like meme.
They're not doing
No,
the great
yeah.
blue joke. Don't worry.
I would just leave this under the umbrella of no cosmetics, and that would include I don't think that we would have weapon skins or weapon reskins if they aren't functionally unique in some way. In part because there's labor, right? Like we can't really stand to spend effort making custom models and animations for things that don't have some kind of impact.
So that's
Yeah, and I also
also
just
no-
think there's a. Oh, I'm sorry. Go for it.
So that's also a no-go for the second part of their question, as like having some kind of reward for completing achievements.
We've thought about achievement rewards, but I don't know what form that would take yet.
There's definitely a.
I guess you can't really reward, like if you're ruling out cosmetics, you can't exactly reward the player with anything. Like
Yeah.
extrinsic.
It's one of those things where if you really wanted to, you could obviously cheat the achievements, so it can't be anything too substantial. So it's definitely a tricky line.
We like the idea of adding progression, but necessarily anything like that would be completely optional. We can't really enforce progression.
A battle pass.
Yeah.
Battle
Because
pass.
it's an offline game. We don't have item servers. We don't have any verification for that sort of thing, and we don't really intend to ever have anything like that. So as much as we're gonna add progression, we just kind of want it to be something that it's like a nudge for you as the player to sort of set these things as your goals and find some sort of long-term fulfillment.
Well, something I've been seeing is I think it's the developers and longtime contributors have a little badge on their name. That's right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's correct.
I feel like you could, it'd be a small thing, but you could have custom a little things next to your name for completing achievements. Say do the achievement where you get a bunch of meat shots with the double barrel, and then you can have a little double barrel icon next to your name or something.
Oh no, there's some cute ideas with that. I don't know if anyone's played Sea of Thieves, for instance, but whenever you complete deeds or reach milestones in that game, you kind of unlock titles that you can put on your pirate and things like that follow you around.
That's quite clever.
And that is also very cute, but I think that we'd be maybe concerned about adding too much visual noise through things like that still.
Yeah.
So
But
it's fun to
definitely,
spitball, but no plans.
Definitely, if it was just contained to the scoreboard and not a annoying particle orbiting you.
Fucking tameable beasts that follows you everywhere.
Guard dog confirmed.
God dog. Oh. I would like to see. I like guard dog. He's a cool design.
What do the Duped asks? What do the TF2C devs think about the TF2 Classic Community Edition by HD Mindface and Dr. Seal?
Oh yeah, so as I understand, they took the public 2016 code base of pre-split TF2C with the deathmatch, and are trying to just kind of continue that with what they have to sort of stabilize it and shore it up and add new features and things like that. And I mean, I don't really think I have any issue with it because it's completely it's a different scope from what we're doing. They're trying to keep deathmatch in the game. I think after we kind of ruled that with what we're trying to do, deathmatch doesn't really have a place within it. And I think, yeah, it's just a different development direction. We don't really see them as competition. We'd be happy to work with them if they had anything they needed from us, or we had anything we needed from them, etc. So it just kind of, it's the same as any other source mod.
I don't really get the name Community Edition. Isn't TF2 Classic already a community thing?
Community edition.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah, I think the branding might be confusing, but it's not really our place anyways. Yeah, because people have described TF2 Classic as the community edition of TF2 very often.
Yeah, so but then there is also the actual community edition that is its name, so it's like
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like a snarky remark that like we don't represent the community or what form that takes necessarily. But in terms of like the actual content they're doing, it's parallel with what we're working on.
I've never heard of this, so I'll have to look it up. I didn't know there was another version.
Japunzo77 asks, what is, in your opinion, the most fun achievement TF2 Classic? I guess more so your favorite.
That's a fun idea. I should check the game and look at our list of achievements, honestly. I was supposed to open the beta, but I might accidentally leak something if I do that.
No, honestly, that's the thing. Like, I kind of have a cop-out answer in that I don't really hunt for achievements. I sort of get them and then feel good about myself and then keep playing the game.
Yeah, I would
really
say something
like
similar. So, we do have some achievements I like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I honestly like the folks on the team who make the achievements do a super good job. And like the art that goes along with them is awesome. To be honest, I don't know I could really pick one because I'm just not really like a achievement-oriented person.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but feel a little bit amenable towards Rabbit Season. Hit a scout with every single pellet from a twin barrel shot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a fun one for sure.
Myself. I thought I went on a big hunt and I thought I had like almost all of them, and then I check and it's only 30%. I was like, what?
Then they added new ones at one point, so it was like, because I remember there used to be like 12, and then like I came back, oh, now it's like 50.
Oh yeah, that's something we always want to add with updates.
TF2 is like known for its like goofy achievements though, so you got to get that in there. That's like gonna say.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of potential.
Okay, hopefully you also reach 500 plus.
Can you? Please make a promise. Please do not add one unobtainable achievement that will not be doable, because there's just one achievement in MVM that, because I did a thing where I tried to get every achievement like legit, and I got to 519. And there's this one achievement in TF2 where it's get 1 million robot kills. And I did the math. It would take about 3,000 hours straight of doing 2 cities to get that many robot kills. So it's basically just unattainable unless you're like MVM no life. So, that's a humble request from me. Please.
Noted.
Because there are achievement hunters out there.
Yeah, no, we're aware of them. And we very quickly hear if achievements don't function as intended.
Okay, fantastic. Let's do 3 more questions, and me, Indy, and Sam will pick our favorite, and we'll ask them as the last 3. Okay. So Sam, be looking.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. So go now. Indy, have you selected one?
No, let's give them a little more time. Last chance. If you don't ask now, you'll never know.
You'll never know.
If we haven't answered your question, feel free to repost it in the chat as well. It's probably just been buried by now.
Yeah, you're welcome to repost it. No, I won't do you for spam. Also, so you have to ask now, because after this episode, the devs will be assassinated, and you will no longer be able to ask them any questions ever again.
You first.
I kind of cracked the molar already. The cyanide's going through, so you kind of have to be quick about this.
You gotta have to hurry up, boys.
Yeah, we're gonna round up the dev team, ship them off, and tomorrow you're gonna update your game, and it's gonna be called Swishcast Team Fortress 2 Classic, and all the classes will be replaced by our like face models reconstructed.
I think I might have to ask the civilian like how he got in touch for the protection service, just to put out for myself.
I just want to say before anything else though, there's been a person asking about vaudeville hook information. I talked about this. We talked about this like 45 minutes ago. I was talking about the 2.2 weapons. Any new info? I gave you new info.
The new info has been claimed. Go get it.
I'm having to haggle with people in the chat right now.
Alright, Indy, have you picked one yet?
I've picked mine.
Okay, you go with yours. I'm still looking for mine.
Kamamiya asks, I aced that name, holy shit. I'm super curious about the state of overpowered game mode, if it's still slowly being worked on, or if it's shelved indefinitely. So overpowered is the Saxon Hale equivalent, right?
Yeah, that's a very, very old concept, as far as it was originally written. And since then, it's been a constant thought, and we've talked about this with playtesters and things like that, and kind of have tried to figure out like, what do we want this to be? What would be the most fun thing? And this was obviously impacted by VSH getting into live TF2 through VScript as well, because I think that a lot of the original appeal of it was the idea of having something like an officialized VSH, and I think maybe that specific goal is less relevant now. And some people have also been kind of dismayed by the fact that VScript VSH also burned out very quickly for live TF2. And so we want to learn from those mistakes whenever we attempt something like this and try to make something that feels a bit more unique and interesting and has more longevity than maybe VSH did. So something that came up in one of these discussions was that we kind of need more weapons for it to have that longevity. As is, like, most of the fun of VSH is kind of figuring out how all these different weapons that you have in live TF2 kind of take on a different role against, a very different type of enemy in a different fight than you're used to. And so you kind of invent new strategies and use things in unconventional ways to achieve that goal and do things that, maybe wasn't thought of when the weapon was being worked on. And if you currently added VSH to TF2C, like exactly as it stands on the table, you wouldn't really have that. We do have a lot of weapons, but I don't think that you could maybe get the exact same vibe that you do from live TF2's VSH because you don't have the same combinations and variety that they've amassed over so many years. So at the very least, I think that we want to focus on having a really good selection of weapons first that people can then go on to use once we add this. So with that in mind, it's not going to be like a 2.3 thing. It's kind of the big thing that we work on after we've squared away all of our other short-term goals and can have all hands on deck for one really big thing that makes the most of all of the content that we've added up to that point. In terms of specifics, I would say that a lot of things that we wrote down in that Google Doc probably aren't specifically relevant anymore, or at least it's not going to be like the Bible for how it's implemented. We're going to keep doing internal playtesting and concepting, and we're going to focus on just how can we make something fun regardless of what exactly that looks like or what shape it takes. We don't want to box it in to be based on anyone's current expectations if we think those wouldn't be as fun as something else that playtests better with people. So as with everything, don't hold us to anything. Don't expect anything. We are a volunteer team. We do what we're able to. We do what seems right. It might take some time. I know it's already been a long time, but given I think that the amount of people have put so much weight on this over the years and they've thought so much about it that we just really want to make sure we do it right.
That's good.
No, yeah,
So
I think
that was a long rant, but
couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
I think that is the first time we've talked about this in many years, so I would like to address it completely.
Sam, have you locked in your question?
Yes. So somebody asked, do you have any plans for? Do you have any new plans for 4-team maps?
Yeah, I mean,
question.
4-team is also interesting for reasons I talked about earlier, which is that we don't really know what works best in a lot of game modes for it yet, and we're still trying to figure that out. Like, for example, with like Dom Hydro, for instance, that kind of teaches us a lot of lessons regarding like, how should 4-team be constructed to achieve the kind of the natural gameplay of TF2, where you don't even have to intentionally coordinate, your team kind of naturally falls into place and works together just as like a consequence of playing the game for your own personal fun. I don't think that everything we've done so far has lived up to that for sure. I think that there is maybe an issue on Dom Hydro again, for instance, where you don't have a lot of team fights because you already have the service player count split into 4s, and then each of those quadrants is kind of having each person go off and do their own thing because there's so many individual objectives to worry about. I would like to see us do more 4-team maps where your whole team is kind of working as a unit in order to accomplish a certain goal. And maybe you kind of see that in action a bit better on smaller, more unified maps like Flask, where there is a lot more teamwork, and I think that 4-team kind of shines better there.
Yeah, I think we also have the benefit of 4-team being like one of the really big sort of wild wests of content, and that there's a lot of room still for different directions we can go in with things, and a lot of room for experimentation. And every time there's a lot of room for experimentation, it means it's a lot of room for developers to have fun making things. So I would say there's absolutely more 4-team stuff.
I think someone said earlier about an idea of a 4-team payload race. I guess that sounds pretty interesting, but I also could go like horribly wrong. I feel like it would have to be like the map.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like hell.
It could be.
Okay, there are multiple ways
like
you could do this.
If the map was done right, I feel like it could work.
No, that is one of the things. 4-team absolutely requires like just more and a different thought process. So it's definitely more work.
On custom maps back in the day, we did have a 4-team pillared race map, Crossbone, and that was also being worked on internally, although I think it's been essentially shelved at this point. But it was trying to do that. I think that the big issue with it is sort of similar to the one on Dom Hydra, where teams were sort of split up and there wasn't maybe enough constant team interaction or team fights on it. It was still fun, but I think that kind of marred it. But I will say that we've been, again, testing 4-team payload race internally, and we've been kind of trying to come up with layouts, I think, that better suit the strengths of 4-team. And I think that we're really excited to see where that might end up eventually.
That's cool. I played a bit of 4-team. It's like I would like to see it with a lot more game modes, because right now it's like there's like arena and Koth, and it's what is there another one I'm missing? Domination?
Domination, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, cool. Yeah, it seems like I think it definitely it seems like a cool idea, but I feel like there's like there need to be like there's definitely was it like a lot of avenues to be explored and to like really get the most out of it to make it feel like awesome to the max.
Also, I will clarify real quick for Freak Show Jimmy and chat. We are not going to add 4-team pastime to TF2C.
Footy lads, come on, get it in. All right, okay.
Party, what's your question?
There was a good one I saw earlier, which I thought was quite funny. Hang on, I gotta find it because I want to credit the person who asked it. Give me 2 seconds. Did they delete it? Did they delete their question? How could you do this? I remember what it was.
Can you delete messages in the YouTube stream chat?
You can delete after.
Oh,
no,
wow.
here it is. Okay. Doc said have and I guess or in maybe custom weapon mods from the custom weapons mode ever influenced the development of a weapon in TF2C?
Unavoidably, right? Because we have a lot of overlap even between people that work in custom weapons or play on custom weapons in various capacities, whether playtesting or design or modeling and things like that. And they also participate in our own games development and playtesting. And so there are going to come points where we are aware of ideas in custom weapons that work out or don't work out, and we can learn lessons from that ourselves that influence our own internal development. I wouldn't say we do this a lot, because for one, they have such a different environment that weapons that are balanced for what they have going on aren't necessarily going to work in the vanilla game when added on their own. So kind of regardless of how you feel about custom weapons, a lot of their ideas don't make sense for us, unfortunately. But there's still cross-pollination. We're constantly talking and sharing ideas.
I would like to see a Zane custom weapons turn into a real potential concept. But you never know.
No.
A boy can keep dreaming. So yeah, I think that's all the main questions. There was one. There's an extra one. Was it? It's quite. I don't know if this has anything to do with you, because this would be like I feel like this would be like if you had like an SFM animation department. But someone asked if there would ever be a Meet the Civilian video. I feel like that's already been done in like fan videos, but like maybe like an official.
Has there
one.
been? That is a fun idea. Do you want to take that one, Wall? Because I know I've taken all three of the questions.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no. I was gonna say yeah. So I would say further characterizing the civilian and sort of just like getting into the civilian as a character is like absolutely something that we've talked about internally and continue to talk about internally. I think like a lot of people on the development team would tell you, yeah, like a Meet the Civilian would be awesome. But obviously, like you kind of said, like we just don't necessarily have the manpower, the resources currently, I would say, to do that. But it's definitely like, I would say it's always in the cards, and it's always something that, if we have the opportunity to do it, I think we would probably go for it.
Definitely a cool thing. You would have to team up with like probably I don't know if you have any anime like full time like SFM animators. I guess you have animators for like the moles and stuff.
Yeah, we do have people who are familiar with it, and of course we have the benefit of having access to the voice actors, so it's
yeah.
it's feasible on paper.
I think yeah, especially if you did that like in Taiwan update, that would definitely drag in like a lot of traction because SFMs.
Oh, absolutely.
SFMs do get the money. I'll tell you that they get the bag.
Very
That's
similarly, about an hour ago, I saw a question in chat saying if you guys are gonna have like official comics.
Oh, we've talked about that.
Yeah, it's been talked about. I think there's definitely interest in doing that, and it's obviously a little bit more attainable than SFM. Less of a workload. So I would say, like, once again, like in conjunction with updates and stuff, there's always a possibility. And I think we also kind of want to explore maybe other slightly more novel ways of sort of, doing something interesting out of game and still providing new content. So we don't maybe know what all of that would include, but we're always sort of looking for opportunities.
Yes,
Guys, I need to level with you.
Huh?
I need to level with you guys.
Oh,
Everyone watching this stream right now, subscribe to the channel. I mean, come on.
Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, check out the Patreon, rate 5 stars, donate to my organ fund. Let's do this, cops. All right, let's. Okay.
I think we should start wrapping up. If
Let's start wrapping up because I think
I guess maybe I could say real quick, if anybody does have questions they want to ask or you want to like talk to us as developers, we have our official TF2 Classic Discord server. It's public. You can join it and you can talk to us and have a good time.
You won't be ignored, guys. If they survive the cyanide we gave them, then you may have a chance.
Yeah, it's going through right now.
It's a 50-50.
50-50 odds.
You can invite us to more podcasts, but I don't know like how much of us will be left at that point.
Podcast.
Definitely
We will take you off one by one.
If you get an invite, if you do get an invite from TF Talk, I would recommend just doing a bit of research into them. But
if a series of unfortunate accidents befall us one by one, we'll know what's up.
Piano falls in your head, etc.
I want to thank you two, and the whole TF2 Classic team for giving us the time and being very cordial and being very nice, and definitely a big thank you for agreeing to come on in the first place. This is a very fun time.
If you guys have a good time, you can be honest. I won't be heartbroken. If I caused you misery, then I'm sorry.
Thank you very.
Oh yeah. Go for it.
No, we were just gonna say thank you very much for coming on. We really enjoyed you being on here.
No, I think it was a very down to earth and chill chat. We didn't have any intense Hangman Sam moments, but we did get I think we did have a nice chill stream. So that's good. A lot of good discussion as well.
No, yeah, I'm super happy to be able to work on the game. It's it's a privilege to be able to work on something I'm so passionate about, and it's awesome to talk about it and be with our community.
And I mean, I came here ready to fight and argue, like full of testosterone, but like it was like surprisingly pleasant.
I think
we hate your game. Get out of here. We trapped you.
I thought it'd be like cornered with a knife, just trying to like fend off attackers, just trying to like preserve like the one thing I love in life. But it was chill.
Could you imagine we like trapped you in here to a secret like debate me battle? And so like, you was like,
yeah.
Ad hominem, appeal to emotion, poisoning the well.
Yeah. Our first question from the chat: what is your social security number?
When will you stop making games? First question.
When will you stop?
What is your home address and like what is like the combination to your lock?
Send me the files for your game. Trust me, I won't do anything bad with them. Please. All right.
Can I please DDoS the service? Okay. For the viewers, before we wrap up, make sure you check out MANN magazine. That's what we are part of. It's a monthly Team Fortress 2 magazine full of cool articles, cool pictures you can look at. And also, we are also MANN magazine. We're Swishcast, the only TF2 podcast. And we're awesome. And you can expect new guests every single week. Or a new gimmick. Like last week, we had a really fun episode where we went through a bunch of old 2008, 2009 TF2 videos. So, chances are you'd be into that if you're into TF2 Classic. So make sure you check us out. Thank you again for your time. If you guys want to add anything onto that. No.
Yeah, I'm starting to think if there's anything, to be honest. Just keep playing the game, keep letting us know your thoughts. Thanks for checking it out, and I'll see you out there. I'll see you on the battlefield.
And guys, read the magazine, because I'm saying, if you hate listening to podcasts, we have a page every week where we where
we have Azel just write a synopsis of...
No, Azel will summarize each episode in like a paragraph, so you can get every single important juicy bit of detail summarized into like 50 words.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
I guess we gotta kill
Meow.
them.
Right, so now we gotta do a musical ending. Hope you guys like Weezer.
Bye bye.
When I do the classic,
There, we are not doing.
I can't believe what I
fucking
see.
Weezer. Oh my
Tell
god.
me who's this civvy
Please stop.
boosting me. Voted off the team. I can't play this shit. I can't just
Please
throw my brick. Oh yeah, this game is shit.
Please tell me you've cut the stream.
I'm not. Fuck.
Cut it.
Are we on the air?
No, okay. Sorry, I was getting really into it. Okay, bye guys, bye! See you, bye everyone!
Bye.
That's not.
Have a good one.
Oh, I just clicked